You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com, on iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter, and take your first step into a larger world. Everybody, welcome back. We're on the other side. We made it. We are in a post-The Last Jedi world. It is episode 106, our review episode of The Last Jedi. My name's Kyle.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carlos.
Yeah, no James this week. He's sitting this one out, but we'll get him on before long to get his thoughts on The Last Jedi. All right, guys. We are back. I'm so stoked to talk about this, but we got a couple things to get to first. And the first thing I want to get off my chest here is I got a note from Rob Wade earlier in the week. And, Rob is good enough to aggregate all feedback for Commonwealth shows. So things like iTunes reviews or, reviews that pop in on different podcatchers, they all filter to Rob. And then he sends out those reviews to each showrunner like myself, or he'll send it to Mark, for example, or Rob Williams in BC, etc., etc. So, I'm always excited to hear from Rob, no matter what, but imagine my excitement when I got this email from Rob, which is simply a forwarded email from a service, and it says, "Hi, the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a Star Wars podcast, is doing very well. Congratulations, today it featured in the following countries and categories. Number 24 in TV and film. That's pretty good, guys."
Yep.
Except it's in Kazakhstan.
Very nice.
That's what odd. I said. I'm like, Borat got us. We've been discovered by Borat.
It's a great success.
Oh, I like that. Anyway, thanks, Rob. I thought that was hilarious and definitely worth mentioning. But if we have some Kazakhstani listeners, come say hi. I would love to hear from anybody from the great country of Kazakhstan. Corey, is there a collecting update to share this week?
Yeah. Let's get into it quickly. I mean, we had met up this week for The Last Jedi and the premiere on the Thursday, and we had a little gift exchange. Maybe that's why James isn't on the show. My stuff didn't come in the mail, whatever. It is what it is. Like I said, I ordered it November 20th, even though I went out today and I got James something else, just in case. And Carlos got his gift. Carlos got his Poe Dameron. Carlos got me an AT-AT, or an AT pilot, which was awesome. Black Series 6-inch. That was really much appreciated, Carlos. That was really thoughtful.
Yeah, thanks for the Poe. I love the Poe with the flight suit.
Yeah, it's awesome, eh?
Awesome. Yeah.
James hooked me up Admiral Akbar, Black Series 3 3/4. Awesome. He hooked me up an R2 Pez dispenser and Timothy Zahn's Scoundrels Legend stuff. And then I was out hitting the shelves hard this weekend. Like, pretty much almost got all my Christmas shopping done, thank God. Even you, Kyle.
Jeez.
So anyhow, I found myself Island Journey Rey, Exile Luke, and the 3 3/4 stuff. I bought BB-9E Funko Pop and BB Resistance Funko Pop because, I'm still going with that droid theme for the Funkos. And I also found a Praetorian Guard 6-inch Black Series, as well as Rose Tico Black Series. So I scooped them up right away. The only ones out there, so I wasn't waiting. I was like, it's an early Christmas gift to myself, whatever it is. It's like, gimme.
So all in all,
way to rationalize that, Corey. Way to rationalize that.
Dude, they're the only ones left. I know next time, like, they're not gonna be there, and that's that. Or I'm gonna have to wait there. I don't know. Whatever. Just
where did you hide so much stuff?
No, it was all in the open. Yeah.
These are all gifts for other people, sweetie. Don't worry.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I didn't. Obviously, I didn't say that, but I showed her. I showed her what I was getting you, and it could have looked like it could have went in with my stuff, but. But all in all, I was pretty happy, man.
Oh God. Well, mine is substantially shorter this week. I just got a Rose Black Series like you got, and I found a Baze Black Series 6-inch, but I didn't pick it up.
Dude, what's wrong with you? That's a super rare commodity. That's like
'Cause
finding one of those in the wall.
I found it at a liquidation center.
Really?
Yeah.
Dude, that's wow.
Yeah.
That's surprising. Because that was one that people were like really sought after, super rare on the pegs.
I don't think so anymore. Once it hits liquidation centers, that balloon is popped. And the box is banged up, so I was like, hell with it. I've spent enough money this week on holiday shopping. But that's it. Very quick update for me. And of course, you guys spoiled me a bit on Thursday. James hooked me up with Dark Disciple, as well as a Chewy Pez dispenser, because there are no finer Pez dispensers. And the 2-pack of Bays and a Stormtrooper from Rogue One, which was very nice. So thank you, guys. Okay, Carlos, anything you want to share?
Yeah, James hooked me up with he hooked me up with a Darth Vader Pez dispenser and a 3PO 3 3/4 and a beautiful Fuller 16-ounce hammer so that I could destroy the 3PO at my discretion.
Are you actually going to follow through with that?
I don't think I will. The 3PO is actually nice. It looks pretty cool.
It's a really nice figure.
It's a cool figure, and you could always use an extra hammer lying around the house. So, so that was pretty cool. My only thing for collecting, I didn't really get anything this week, but I'm looking at the Black Series Krennic that online is being posted at $13. And I haven't seen it in stores, so I think I'm just gonna maybe grab that online. That's
nice
it.
Call.
Yeah, Mendo. I got you there.
Yeah,
and
I
Kyle,
got the
go for Carlos.
No, I was just gonna say because I got the Funko Pop and I have the Imperial Shuttle, the Lego, and so I figured, I'll just get the third piece just to round out the Krennic vibe.
I like it.
Very nice.
And Kyle, also, just so you know, like you don't really have to spend a dime for me on Christmas. Like you could just kind of take something that's lying around the house, maybe like X-Wing Luke or something like that,
I think I've heard this before, and I think you know the answer to that. But
can't wait till Christmas. Or the double up birthday Christmas present. Don't pull a Ryan Johnson on me, man. I'm expecting it.
No. See, this is not going to go the way you think. 'Tis the season for you to adjust your expectations. I'm not giving you that figure.
Look at you, so serious, eh, Carlos? You will give me that figure.
Did you just do the Obi-Wan hand movement there?
I did at the same time, actually.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
It doesn't work over Skype. Sorry.
It does. The Last Jedi's taught us one thing: the Force can be used over great distances.
Not by you. Okay, collecting update done. Let's start. We're gonna have to start this again. The box office update. So from Box Office Mojo, The Last Jedi is opened and estimated. Of course, we're not going to know until tomorrow. But these guys are so good at what they do. I don't know how they do it, but they do it, and they're always so close. So, in its opening weekend, so from Thursday through Sunday, The Last Jedi has hauled in about $220 million domestically, and about $230 million internationally for a $450 million global haul. Which,
wow.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yes, I think that's
I thought
a little bit
the
ahead.
global haul was 220. I was completely shot off guard there.
Yeah, no, this is good for fifth all time.
Nice.
Fifth all time. Yeah, that's a great number. But there's some context to add here from Box Office Mojo. So the quote is, "Those figures, however, take into account the fact that The Fate of the Furious and Jurassic World, which are both ahead of The Last Jedi, also opened in China during their opening weekends.
Oh, that's true.
Exclude China grosses, and The Last Jedi holds the third largest global debut behind The Force Awakens and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Nice.
So I think Lucasfilm has another hit on its hands.
Well, they made their money back from this one.
Exactly. They've already recouped.
Yes, they have. They've made their money back. Now everything else now is, I don't want to say pure profit, but for all intents and purposes, it's profit time.
Have we all seen the movie at least twice?
Unfortunately, I'm the only one here who has not seen it twice. Yeah,
So
it's a busy weekend, man.
Kyle and I both saw it on Saturday. I got the first showing of the day, and Kyle, you went with your wife, I believe. You made a dinner movie night type of thing.
Yep, our third annual.
Nice. Yeah.
Every Star Wars Saturday on opening weekend, my wife and I, we go out for a dinner and we grab the movie. And this time it was much more manageable. We took in an earlier showing, and we're able to stay awake much easier this time. But let's get into it. Let's start talking about this movie. I figure if anybody hasn't seen it but wants to just touch base with us, we can speak for a few minutes of some non-spoilery thoughts, our initial spoiler-free thoughts of the movie. And I'll just start by saying I didn't want this movie to end. Like it just kept delivering for me in ways that I wasn't expecting. There's a lot of things that I thought we get that we didn't get, and because of what we did get in its place, I didn't miss those things that much. I don't know what are your initial takeaways, guys?
I'm on board with you, Kyle. There were so many parts getting towards that 2-hour 10 mark where I was expecting, okay, the movie's gonna end now. Like dreading that moment that the movie ends, but it just kept giving more and more and more. And I left there like all of us. I think we all leaving that first viewing, we all left with high
as a kite.
Bewilderment. Yeah, pretty much. Like, and so yeah, those my first. I was just so happy to have witnessed the new Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I mean that is the happiest I have left the theater after one of these. In the quote unquote Disney era. This is the happiest I left the theater, probably by a country mile. I left The Force Awakens going, okay, that was cool, but what did we just see? Like, what was that? And then for Rogue One, I was like, cool. Like that was a really well done movie. I enjoyed that. Nothing mind blowing, but this is a different animal. And I just want to backtrack a little bit just to say that I don't know how last week was for you guys. Just that Monday through Thursday before seeing the movie. It was tough, man.
Oh, it was so bad.
Everything up until that point. And, go back a week recording our final podcast before The Last Jedi. Up until that point, piece of cake, man. But then Monday morning came and I stroll into work and things just immediately got really tough. Like every hour seemed like 3. It was just a slog, man. And the closer we got, the longer the hours seemed to be getting. It was just brutal, man. Corey, were you feeling the same way?
Yeah, toward the end. Like, I'd say it didn't hit me right necessarily at the beginning of the week, but I think for the week leading up to, it's like I was still kind of on social media. I had muted some stuff, but at the same time, it was like I had to tread really carefully. I was speaking last week about that one spoiler kind of that got me, and what it was, and it was on a trailer as well, which is still also kind of lame, I find.
Well, you can spoil it now, I think.
Exactly. It was when Rey caught Kylo's saber, and she started using Kylo's saber, and I was like, oh my god, she's turning dark. And I just didn't want to see something like that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up spoilers, because I'm really glad, I'm really grateful for the experience that I kind of built for myself this time around. Like, I didn't delve too deeply at all into spoilers. And a lot of the ones that we heard actually didn't even come true.
Exactly.
So, or maybe, they weren't in the final cut. Maybe they're somewhere else. But, I didn't filter anything. I didn't mute anybody. I didn't temporarily unfollow anybody. I just said I'm just going to try and tread carefully and hope for the best. And nothing crossed my path. Nothing that I would have considered to be antagonistic got to me. Like, I saw a lot of people that I'm friends with and that I follow on Twitter did get spoiled, and were like, god damn it, like I got spoiled on something and I'm not happy about it. And I was like, oh well, I'd love to talk to you about it, but I don't want to know. How about you, Carlos? Did you filter anything, any special avoidances?
Well, no, I didn't filter anything. I mean, I was gluttonous for once that Monday Night Football trailer came out, the official trailer. I was just looking for anything and everything. I was just, the movie was so far away, and it was like, I needed something to satiate that hunger for this movie. But as soon as we podcasted 105, Tumbling Saber 105, and we talked about some of the reviews, and at that point I was like, okay, it's real now. It's getting real. And then Mark over at Talk Star Wars actually got to see the film, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. So at that point I was like, I want to watch it too now. Like, he got to see it, now I need to see it, because that's just the way it is. And it was, the last 2 days were brutal. I mean, I was listening to podcasts, and people were talking about their theories, and not spoilers in any sense of the, but I had to just turn the podcast off, and I would try another one, and then turn that podcast off. I don't want to hear what you're thinking about this movie. Like, I don't need to know what you're thinking about it. I just want to see the movie. And it was very tough on me. And even at dinner, I'm going to be honest, last Thursday at dinner, we had a good time, and we had some laughs. But I was, I don't know if it showed or not. No, just distracted a little, like agitated maybe.
Anxious. That's the way I felt.
At 8:50, I kept looking at at the phone, and I'm like, okay, Kyle's gonna be at the theater, so I just got up. I'm like, all right, let's go. Like, I wasn't gonna wait there until 9:20, and we had the Thor Ragnarok experience fresh in my mind also, and I wanted to get some popcorn, and I wanted to get a commemorative cup, and I didn't want to miss anything in the theater. So that lead up to sitting down and the previews being way too long, like, it was brutal. Like, but
so many commercials before, like, brutal. Like, give me as many trailers as you want within reason.
I don't mind trailers. Yeah, it's the commercials. Man, it's the
commercials have got to stop.
What the burn was the trailer started, and then in the middle of the trailers, here's some more commercials, and I was like, what? How dare you? I'm like, once the trailers start, it's trailers.
Yeah, they give you some 2D, a couple 2D trailers, and then put your 3D goggles on. Or no, wait, is that it's commercials, and then trailers start, and then put your goggles on. But they hit you with a couple more ads in between. It's like, come on, guys, enough.
And the worst part was, Lucasfilm logo comes on, lights are still on. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the lights are still on. Star Wars Episode 8, the lights are still on. Halfway through the crawl, they go off, and then they come back on again. Like, what are they doing? Like, you're ruining...
I get really agitated at stuff like that. Like, do your jobs.
Seriously,
on opening night.
Yeah, for Star Wars especially, too. This isn't like Pirates of the Caribbean or something, you know what I mean? Like, this is Star Wars. Like, I think it almost was, like, intentional. Like, the guys in the booth are probably like, want to get a rise out of the crowd? Watch this. Like, everyone started screaming at a point, like, ah! One guy got up. I saw one guy take one for the team. He's like, ugh! He got up and he started running for the door. Like, he was like, I'm the hero.
Hey, I think it was actually my next door neighbor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. Who oddly enough, was at the show. Like, I don't know these people very well, but there he was.
There you go. Give him your business card. Tumbling Saber.
I should do that, shouldn't I? Guys, let's start talking about the movie. Spoilers from here on in, everybody. So buckle up. If you haven't seen the movie yet, first of all, I don't know what you're doing here. But secondly, press pause. Go see The Last Jedi and then come back and have this conversation with us. But with that said, let's start with the Resistance and First Order arc. And that would include Leia, Poe, Holdo, Hux, and the like. So that opening scene on Dakar, which, I'll roll in a prediction here. Way back when, this goes back months and months and months, when they told us that the Last Jedi will pick up where The Force Awakens dropped off, and it'll be with Luke and Rey. I said, well, I don't know about that. I think it's going to pick up in time with Luke and Rey, but I see the first sequence being the Resistance escaping Dakar. No, you dummy! It's going to be with Luke and Rey. He said it. Yeah, well, we'll see. Here we are, and I couldn't be happier. Here's one. I like to be surprised. I'm glad I got this one right, because I think it was the perfect opening. Just those shots, the score that we're panning down and we're getting those opening notes from the A New Hope score. Right away, my brain was just started melting. Oh
yeah, that shot, because it was very immersive, especially in 3D. The way we came down through the fleet was very interesting, and new take on that as well.
Yeah, and then
very 21st century.
Yeah, the Resistance fleet, whatever's left of it, and those inbound Star Destroyers, and then the emergence of that dreadnought from hyperspace was, again, in 3D. I'm not huge on 3D in cinemas, but that was a great visual. Just having that massive dreadnought burst out of hyperspace, that was terrific. I just loved it. But even better than that, and Carlos, your boy Poe, his entrance, man, that was one of my favorite moments in the entire movie. What about you?
Yeah, 100%. That was the comedy of the whole communicating with Hux and playing, pretty much toying with him until his boosted X-wing was ready to go full power, and I thought it was fantastic, and just like that handbrake turn almost. Once he destroys the final turret and then does another Yui and guns down two TIE fighters. It was awesome, and like visually stunning, sonically also, and we had never really seen that in a space battle before. I mean, we've seen some great space battles, and we can even go back to 2005 with Revenge of the Sith and the opening of that movie. But I think it was perfect in the sense that it really set a tone for the pacing of the movie.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way they framed it up too, where you see this gigantic ship that is dwarfing regular Star Destroyers, which are huge enough on their own, and the bewilderment of these first order guys. I think it's Cassidy was the guy's name.
Kennedy.
Being told that there's a single person stunt fighter with in attack position coming in, and they're just like, what? And then you kind of blow out to that shot of the rear of Poe's X-wing, and you're like, yes. That was just electrifying. What a terrific way to kick off that movie.
I'd say I love that part as well, like the whole introduction to that, and I was like, yes, Poe, like it like the contrast, like you had said, Kyle, of like this one ship meeting an entire fleet of Star Destroyers and a dreadnought. And, I have to say the comedy hit hard for me as well, but it's one of my qualms in the film as well. Just because I found it dragged on a little too much. Like, I found it funny, and then I know he had to buy some time and whatever, but I don't know. Like, I was like, this is some, like, it's a serious moment. Like I want it to be a little more serious at the same time, but it was still very funny to me. But I thought it could have been shortened a little.
I mean, comedy is a very subjective thing. Like, it worked perfectly well for me. I laughed out loud at that. Holding for Hux?
Yeah. Well, I did too the first time I heard it.
Pasty. It completely worked for me. I don't laugh out loud in a Star Wars movie very often. That, 30 seconds in? It got me. Yeah. It really got me.
And his line of, and I also have a message from General Leia for Hux about your mother. It was like
a mom joke.
Yeah,
a mom joke in Star Wars.
Oh, awesome.
There's a bridge crossed for the first time.
A lot.
Like you said, within the first 30 seconds. So at first it kind of was like, it's setting the film up tonally, and it's like, okay, we get humor in Star Wars, but I was hoping, it didn't go that way, like a lot. It's got to be used sparingly.
I thought it worked perfectly for me. Like it did for me. It didn't cut the tension of the moment. It didn't cut the seriousness of the situation with the Resistance really hightailing it out of there. It worked perfectly well. Here's this cool collected pilot who doesn't really understand the word "I can't do that," and it worked for me. It worked. I get for why it didn't work for others, and that's totally fine. The Resistance bombers. pretty cool, right? Like I thought we'd see more of them, but instead they were kind of treated like sitting ducks.
They really were. I mean, they didn't move. They moved at a snail's pace. Really odd ships. It's like we're going back in time almost. Like, you know, I get that they needed a lot of firepower. You know
payload,
what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
payload, yeah.
Bombers are typically slow-moving craft anyway.
But they were really slow, man. Not agile. I didn't like their... That was one thing right off the bat, too. I was like, their formation is no good. Like, if you know that if one ship gets blown up and it's going to blow up the rest of your squadron or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, maybe you should fly in a different pattern.
Yeah, you even hear the orders of, okay, guys, keep it tight, you know, like... And I was expecting these bombers to be more agile. If I throw back to Lego, when they released the Resistance bomber, I looked at it and it's like, it's my favorite probably set of all the new ships. And then to see it on screen be like a little bit of a, you know, I was expecting more agility from those bombers. And you're right, Corey, like they kind of, you know, strategically, they kind of screwed that one up. Like, especially when all the bombs are armed. And all you just need a bump from a TIE fighter, like, and for the whole ship to go up, like, yeah.
It seemed like those ships were really, really vulnerable. Like, did they even have shields? Like,
nope, no shields.
I don't know. They just seemed like a very, very unreliable craft to be carrying such a payload.
Yeah, and not only that, like, I mean, I know obviously they had some kind of like force field or something, you know what I mean? Some kind of thing, but like the way it's in open space like that, you're just looking down into open space. Like I found that kind of odd too, you know? Like they should have made it more apparent that there was some kind of like as the bombs fell through them, you could have seen like some kind of like electrostatic shield or something, you know?
Yeah, whatever.
But I think it was cool that the bombs were physical and that weren't lasers, so that they'd be able to go through the shields. Like,
well, that's it. I think what it really alludes to is just the state and order of the Resistance, how old they are, how not well equipped they are. Whatever the equipment they're dealing with is probably like pre A New Hope kind of almost. You know what I mean? Like it looks like old kit. Like it's just a representation of who they are.
I imagine those are Rebellion era bombers, just like everything else they have.
And I'm surprised Paige Tico got a toy, because, I mean...
Everybody gets a toy. If Zuvio gets a toy, everybody gets a toy. Come on, look at this. Look at the Cantina creatures from A New Hope who got a toy.
I guess we'll have to see who else comes out in this line.
I mean, at least this person had a role, a small one, but at least she did something. She took, she dropped the bombs that took out a dreadnought.
No, it's true. She had a pretty significant role, I guess.
Short.
What about Snap Wexley, man? Where was Snap? No Snap.
That's weird, eh?
No Snap.
What happened to Snap Wexley? I mean, maybe they sent him off on a scouting mission in advance. I don't know if that story is out there already.
Oh yeah, JJ's gonna write him up a nice little piece. They're buds.
Oh, of course. Snap will be back in episode 9. But he should have been at Dakar, putting his own neck on the line.
But just coming quickly back to Paige, she was a hero. She sacrificed herself for the Resistance, but not only that, it also plays into the role of pushing Rose further, and it makes her character more interesting as well. So I understand it. Like,
yeah, I mean, should we have had some kind of scene between Paige and Rose, even if it was just like a quick hug goodbye, like good luck, see you at the rendezvous type thing? No,
it was fine. I didn't need to see that. You just needed to see her crying, wiping tears away as Finn is trying to make his escape.
And also, I guess that piece of jewelry they both share with each other, I think that's probably, I guess the proxy for that type of scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that opening sequence was great. It did what it had to do, and it decimated pretty much what was left of the Resistance. I mean, this is sort of the thinnest any fighting force on the good side has ever been. I mean, there's nothing left. Really,
it's
nothing
crazy.
left. Like
when I saw it, I was like, something's wrong here. Like, we're okay. The rest of like the fleet will show up at one point, and it's like, really? Like,
No, it's
a
gone.
handful of
There's nothing.
a handful of fighters and just a few frigates, man. It's like,
Yeah, we after the Force Awakens, we kind of figured, they must have some other cells out there somewhere that will kind of come into action here, but no.
Or at least the leftovers of the Republic.
I don't think there's anything left at all.
There's nothing. The Millennium Falcon is the only ship left in the rebellion right now.
Yep. We'll touch back on that, I think, more toward the end. But yeah, that's saying a lot.
That is, yeah. I never really considered that, but that's pretty much true. I mean, they talked about their friends in the Outer Rim, which again we'll talk to later, but yikes, it really is bad. Let's talk about Princess Leia in this movie. Like Carrie Fisher knocked it out of the park.
She did, man. She did. It's so amazing. Like, I didn't even see Carrie Fisher, man. All I saw was Leia. Like, she just remembered the character. She is the character, and she played that character. It was so perfect, man.
Yeah, I think she had some nerves for The Force Awakens, and I think all those kinks were out, and she was just ready to rock this role for The Last Jedi, and man, she did such an amazing job.
I agree.
It was strange though, to see her. She's always the one that's I guess kind of giving off positivity. There's never a way. There's always a way to win. There's always a way for us to figure this out. And by the end, like, there wasn't. Like, that was gone from Leia. The spark is out. Like, it was almost sad to see that character go all the almost like a 180 at the end of the line. And it was just really sad given the circumstances that we now find ourselves in 2017 in a Carrie Fisher free world.
Yeah, that is sad. I didn't even think of that, to be honest.
So this beautiful game of space chess that the Resistance played with the First Order. I mean, I really liked the way that Rian Johnson set this up. I really liked the way he set this up.
Before we really jump into that, man, like, let's talk about Leia's accident a bit, no? When I saw that scene, like, to me, like, visually, it was so aggressive. It, like, really came at you hard, man. And, I don't know. I remember James was sitting to my left, and I grabbed him, man. I grabbed his leg and his shoulder. I was like, oh my God. I, like, shook him. Like, I really thought for a second that, like, Leia had bought the dust, kind of. Like, they had written her off in this film, and that, like, she'd have a greater role moving forward somehow. But I was like, oh my God, like, they did it. It's happening. Like, it really looked like that until, like, I saw her floating in space there. But I thought she was gone, man. And it was so crazy to see that on screen.
No, I see. I kind of knew that. I had a feeling.
We knew that she had the accident and whatever, but like, at that point when I was like, once she got sucked out into space, I'm like, how is she going to save herself? Like, it's over, man, like, but
it was too early on in the movie for me, and there were too many iconic images of her with that coat that, with the collar that kind of wraps around her face, and
true.
We know she's on crate, so there's, I was like, okay, let's see how she gets out of this one. That's more what I was. I don't know about you, Kyle. I don't know if you're like, oh my God, did they really like pull the rug out from under us here? But
there was a tiny bit of that, tiny bit of that. But when something like that happens, like, my mind goes through like the Rolodex of information that I have.
Yeah.
For better or worse, doing a podcast and following Star Wars news, you kind of know. Like, 95% of the people in that theater don't follow Star Wars news the way we do. Like, I would. Maybe on an opening night it's a different story, but overall, when it's all said and done, the vast majority of people in cinemas don't follow the day-to-day news. So when Leia got sucked out into space, I'm sure there was a good number of people who went, oh my God. But, oh geez, and they thought about it. Maybe they thought to the trailers, but I remember seeing other shots of her in the trailers. Could be Mr. X. Could be Mr. X, but, following the news as we did, that's what happened to me. And again, for better or worse, I knew that somehow this was not the end. So that moment didn't have quite the punch I think maybe they were going for. But again, I think for the
It
majority
did
of
for me,
audience,
man.
it probably did work.
It did for me, but even at that, it's just because of the violence of it all. You know what I mean? Like, I know, again, that we'd heard that she was she has an injury and she's going to be out of it for a bit of the film, and that she used the Force to save herself. But God, I didn't think she'd use the Force in this kind of scenario. I thought it was more like, let's move some rubble off me, you know? Like, I had a little Force shield there. Well, definitely wasn't getting sucked out into space.
That little sequence answers 2 questions from our Sith Disturbers quiz. We wondered, does Kylo Ren take the shot? And we now know that answer. And what was the other question related to that?
Will Leia use the Force?
Does Leia use the Force? And yeah, we have 2 answers there now.
Oh yeah, she definitely overtly uses the Force, and that was
absolutely
it was amazing.
No doubt about it.
A lot of people are calling her Carrie Poppins.
Yeah, that's James.
floating through space. I have a lot less problem with that in the universe than a lot of other people seem to have problems with that scene. I mean,
yeah.
I don't really. There's nothing in the laws of physics of that galaxy that tell me that can't be done. So, you know.
I mean, yeah, you can nitpick it, right? I mean, the minute she opened her eyes out in space, her eyes should have exploded out of her skull. But that's not. We don't play that game. We shouldn't be playing that game when it comes to Star Wars,
especially not when it comes to the Force. You know what I mean? Like, there's obviously, like, she knows how to use it to a certain degree, and you'd almost think, it's like, like mutant powers are kind of like spurred on sometimes by heat of the moment actions. Like, it's kind of possibly the same thing with the Force. When your dopamine levels are high and it's a moment of crisis, like, you can use the Force probably in mysterious ways as well. But
that's a great
at the
point,
same time,
Corey. Yeah.
But at the same time, there was something about the scene that when I watched it, I was like, visually, maybe what it was, it very much was reminiscent of Mary Poppins or whatever. Just the way she floated down. Trust me, I wanted her to live and all that, but there was something about that scene that I can understand why people were uncomfortable with it for some reason, and I can't exactly pinpoint it. It could have been the visual imagery or...
Oh, it's all about the image. People don't like the way it looks. And it does look weird. I mean, I don't know if there's any other way to say it. It doesn't look cool. But I don't know how you make that look cool. Was she supposed to strike a Superman pose or tuck herself into a ball and like barrel roll? Like, I don't know how you're supposed to make that look cool. But for me, like, the reason why that moment works for me is finally Leia using the Force that way. Finally, we get confirmation that yes, Luke has probably taught her a thing or two over the years. We touched on that lightly, ever so lightly, in I think Bloodline or Aftermath, or maybe both. But now we finally get some actual confirmation that yes, Leia can actually use the Force if she needs to.
Yeah, I kind of liked it in the sense that if Jean Grey can have a million tons of water fall on her and she can like protect herself with a cocoon of the Force, if you want to call it, then it kind of like, it does the same. Leia can definitely do the same thing. Like, so
yeah, I don't have a problem with her being out in space and freezing up a little bit. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
The visual was weird, but for me, the sentiment of that moment and John Williams' score, come on,
yeah, he's amazing.
The swell of Leia's theme at that moment, it killed me. It melted me.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful filmmaking. Just again in the sense that like when that wall smashed and that missile hit, and like she got sucked out, it's like I'm telling you, all the air got sucked out of me too. I was like, and I like probably moved forward and everything. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that we've never seen that happen to her. But and it also something we don't see in Star Wars too often, like a little slow motion from Poe and Cadel, and I think Finn was there too, right? They were kind of reacting to Leia arriving back in the hangar, and they just start darting, and there's no dialogue. It's just Leia's theme, and they go bolting over to the airlock to get her, and it was just superb. It was again the Mary Poppins thing. Maybe your mileage may vary, and it doesn't look cool, but I think the overriding sentiment of that moment it just floored me.
Can I just come back to what we talked about, just Kylo Ren not taking the shot? And obviously he doesn't. We see that he doesn't, but one of the TIE fighters, or both of the TIE fighters who are flanking him, actually both take shots at the bridge. And when the ships come back around, I don't know how many... There aren't any rebellion or resistance fighters out there shooting at them, but both those TIE fighters kind of explode in space. And is that Kylo? Like, you killed my mother, you piece of whatever. And, like...
I wondered the same thing.
Yeah, because
I kind of got that impression as well.
To me, it looks like he took them down. I don't know if it was his silencer that actually took the shots, or if it was the Force just maybe crushing their fuel cells and having them explode.
Some Force
He
payback.
wasn't too happy about that. When he let his finger off the trigger and they pulled theirs, he was like, "You idiots!"
Yeah, and they turned around and both the TIE fighters who were flanking him got shot down or exploded, and I don't know from where. Like, that's one question I had.
Yeah, no, that's a good observation. A really good observation. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's something to that. Okay, so let's jump back to this game of space chess, which kind of is sort of the thread that runs throughout the movie. It's the remnants of the Resistance just keeping far enough out of the reach of the First Order. And at this point, we have to mention the arrival of the Supremacy, Snoke's massive flagship. Holy Lord. That thing is big.
Ah, it's huge.
It's kind of odd. I don't know. I think I would like to think that they could have... I know they were staying just out of reach, and they're probably just like light speed levels or something like that. Like the maximum velocity they could travel before reaching light speed, or making being able to shoot cannons and stuff realistic. Like, to be able to buy themselves that much time and to have that many hours of shield was kind of like, whoa, like that's pretty surprising.
Yeah, I think they almost took a page out of like real life naval warfare, where a smaller ship will definitely be able to outrun some of these bigger, slower things. You could nitpick, you could pull it apart if you want to say, well, why didn't that's something I was talking to James about. If the First Order wanted to, they could have just called in a dozen Star Destroyers from the opposite direction, cut off the Raddus, and end it right there. But that's not how movies are made. That's you can end any movie in 10 minutes if you want to, if you want to just make everything super airtight and super logical. Like, there's no reason why the First Order didn't do that, right? Like, they obviously have the resources to do something like that, but that makes for a really boring movie. So you just go with the story as is. And
that's it. I figured that I went with the technology factor. Like, they have some super serious shields and stuff now.
Yeah. But that scenario of just staying out of reach kind of sets up a lot of tension throughout the movie as we sort of watch the fuel reserves dwindle away, and we know that the First Order has somehow tracked the Resistance through lightspeed, and it's completely useless for them to jump to lightspeed again. There's no point to it, because the First Order will just track them, and they'll be out of gas and sitting ducks. I like it. I like the hopelessness of the Resistance situation. It was just on point for me the whole time. I wasn't literally sitting on the edge of my seat the whole time, because I liked these reclining seats that we got, but I was figuratively on the edge of my seat the whole time. I just thought it was so good.
Well, both James and myself, I saw us both were literally on the edge of our seat, like just leaning forward, leaning back, leaning forward, leaning back, like, for sure.
So what do we make of the intro of Vice Admiral Holdo? Do we like this character? Do we dislike the character?
I dislike the character for as long as they intended me to dislike the character.
Yes.
If that's said, I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but
no.
I mean, people are still stuck. They're still stuck on not liking the character, and there's a reason why you don't like it, is because they don't want you to like the character. They want you to like Poe. They want you to be on the side of Poe, and
you want to question things too. Like when Poe calls her a traitor, it's like, is she a traitor? Oh my God, is it a possibility now that it kind of does make sense that she's stalling, man? She's stalling.
Like, she looks like nothing. she looks nothing like a Resistance fighter. You know, she's in these purple gowns and with this garish purple hair. She looks completely out of place.
She looks like she should be on Canto Bight, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like Elite. Yeah.
And I think the way we've been introduced to her is maybe to make us think that maybe she's on Canto Bight, or she's from Canto Bight or associated with Canto Bight, and therefore she's a little bit shady. And it worked for, like you said, Carlos, for as long as it needed to. And then when it was time for her to make that call that she's going to stay behind, I don't know that she necessarily earned that, but I like the character. I like that Laura Dern was able to convey a warmth within Holdo, that, you know, Leia seems to trust her completely, and that's good enough for me.
See, as soon as Poe gets stunned by Leia, and like I knew that there was a plan, obviously, like in place. Leia never, what's the word I'm looking for? She's always covering her bet. She's always trying to hedge her bets somehow. She does it in A New Hope right away when her ship comes under attack and sends the droids off. She's always tries to be a step ahead. And I found Holdo so, what's the word I'm looking for? Not only did I my feelings turned towards her, but I found her a sympathetic character as soon as she said that thing about Poe, you know, like he's a
troublemaker.
Like
he's a troublemaker. I like him. Like as soon as she said that she liked him, like for me, I'm like, okay, she was doing what Leia asked her to do in case something happened to her, which was
she was being a good soldier.
Yeah, perfect. And,
that makes sense. Like that, I could see. Like if Leia was like, you know, if this happens, rein that kid in. He's probably gonna try and do something crazy. Which is why she didn't tell him anything, which is a big problem for a lot of people, including myself. It's like, why isn't she telling Poe anything? You know what I mean? Like, what does he think he's gonna, like, what does she think he's gonna do? You know, like, he kind of did earn the right to know, which is another thing that kind of, it just alludes to the fact that you want to question her character.
See, I don't think, I'm not against you there. I do believe he needed to know, but what he really needed was a lesson in leadership. He needed that more than needing to know the plan. You understand what I'm saying? Like
100%. Like that's what I have written here, man. Like Leia's been teaching him this whole time patience and seeing the bigger picture, not being so brash. That cowboy flyboy guy. You know what I mean?
She tells him straight up, like, you can't always answer or solve your problems by getting into an X-wing and blowing things up. Like that's where Poe is. Just let me just take care of this the old-fashioned way.
Well, the comics have alluded to it, you know, that she's kind of setting him up for a bigger role. This movie really pointed toward it in a huge way, especially by the end.
You're
by
hit
the
over
end,
the head with it.
But I think by the end we got the Admiral Poe Dameron, pretty much, you know.
Pretty much, yeah.
By default.
General.
Yeah, guys, we didn't mention it, but in that scene where Leia gets sucked out into space, we lost Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, true.
Let's not gloss over that. I mean, this movie saw the end of Admiral Akbar, which makes, I guess, sense with the death of Eric Bowersfeld, who did his voice for, you know, ever since Jedi. That character's gone, man. No more Admiral Akbar.
Yeah, he's had a long, prestigious career. It's sad that he had to go out like that.
Yeah, in a way, you want to say, oh, doesn't that character deserve a little more than just like a whoop? He's gone. He's dead. Jeez. But hey, we got to move, right? This is a 2.5 hour movie that did not feel 2.5 hours.
Nope, that's
not
for sure.
The least, man.
And it's funny that the chase scene is pretty much half the movie. It takes place over maybe 8 hours in real galaxy time. So
yeah,
you know, it has to move. You can't really. There's no time to make funeral arrangements or you're still in the middle of a fight here. So there's the fight or flight instinct kicks in.
That's right. And then at the end, Corey, you kind of alluded to it with Leia, and they're kind of looking for a way out of the mine on Crate, and Poe's the one at this point. He's starting to figure it out. He's this whole leadership thing, and he says, "Okay, we're gonna go look for another way out." And then he says, "Everybody follow me," and everybody just kind of turns to Leia, and she's like, "Don't look at me."
Follow him.
You heard him.
There's a very fortuitous, I think, passing of the torch here.
Big time.
Which I think that will really help J.J. Abrams as he's turned in his first draft, I think, to Bob Iger, or at least he's pitched Episode 9. That was a MSW story on Friday, which is amazing. I mean, this whole thing is like clockwork, right? The movie drops, the pitch for the next movie is done. It's amazing how well oiled this thing is on certain fronts.
But we gotta say, I mean, despite losing Carrie, Ryan set JJ up nicely. There are a lot of outs for him to take care of. Like, the torch is already passed to Poe. So it's not like we're gonna get the new movie and Poe's the general and we don't know how. Like, you understand? Like, there's so much storytelling, future storytelling, like foreshadowing done, so that when he gets to the final script, it's not something that's out of the blue. It's something that we kind of have been either expecting or fed breadcrumbs for.
Yeah, there's some setup here that is really kind of laid out on a platter for JJ.
Well, not only that, like I think I'm going to touch on this for every character arc, really, but just the theme in this setup, Poe and Leia, there's a lot of what Kylo said in the trailer of letting go of the past. And that's happening here. We're letting go of Leia in a way of having control of the rebellion. It seems like she's handing the reins over, and Poe is kind of letting go of a part of himself and seeing the bigger picture and not being so brash and becoming that leader, like you guys said.
Well, yeah, I mean, contrast Poe at the beginning. Poe at the beginning is, we have an opportunity to take out a dreadnought. I'm going straight ahead with this foolhardy plan of mine, regardless of how many resources it costs us. Fast forward to the end, and I don't know, like we said, this is probably just, a few hours later, and the lesson has sunk in. The Poe of 12 hours earlier would have said, we're going to go ahead, don't break off your attack, keep going. But this Poe says, nah, this is stupid, we're getting decimated, break off the attack.
And they still got decimated. I mean, out of all those ski speeders, like, how many turned back?
Yeah, that's it.
The three people that we already know.
Yeah, exactly.
More or less.
They had 9 in total, or 13 in total. What did they have? I don't remember the exact number, but
I think they said 13. I think it was 13.
So, like, if 50% of the people made it back, like, that's
oh, gee, that's generous. That's real
generous.
I don't even know if that many got back.
And considering there were 13, it would be kind of implausible for 50% to.
Yes,
because it's
the math lesson. The math lesson. Yes. It's not just a Star Wars podcast, everybody.
Yeah, that's not what I don't want to hear that actually in this one. People counting X-wings and stuff like that on the way onto the Starkiller trench run. You know what I mean? Like, they went in with 6 speeders and they left with 6, but 4 got shot down and blah blah blah. Like
that is pretty funny though. Like I don't remember the numbers. Like 12 went in, 11 got shot down, but like 8 still leave. Whatever the number is.
Yeah, they. That's JJ.
Funny.
That's JJ for you.
Well, that's another thing too. Like, something happened to the fleet in a way because, like you said, Snap wasn't there. They still left with all those X-wings, but the only thing we really saw flying were those bombers and A-wing. The fighters weren't really present.
I think there's an easy way to say we sent Snap and a scouting team off to touch base with somebody somewhere for some
the rendezvous.
reason.
They had a rendezvous. That's it. They had a rendezvous that they never actually got to.
Yeah, Crate was a contingency plan.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just wrap up with Leia. Like, what else do we want to say about Leia here? I mean, this is Carrie Fisher's last performance. So if there's anything you want to talk about with Leia, like, literally, this is the podcast to do it. So
she nailed the character, like, really, like, and I sent you guys an article today about how she had written a couple scenes, 2 scenes, and she nailed those scenes in the writing. You know, as a script doctor, she knew what she was doing, and she was Leia. Leia was. It sucks for an actor to get tied to something, but Leia was Carrie, and Carrie was Leia, and she absolutely knocked us out of the park, like you had said prior, Kyle.
Yeah, it really did feel like Leia. It really, really felt like her. Carlos, I mean, feels like we're revisiting 2016 where Carrie Fisher had passed away, but
I found it very hard on my second viewing.
I'm going to step away for a minute, guys.
Okay. Yeah, I found it very hard on the second viewing because selfishly, my first thought when I heard that she had a heart attack was like, oh shit, is she going to be okay to, continue on? And then she passed away, and I didn't know her personally. I knew her as Princess Leia. I knew her as cameo appearance in Scream 3 or whatever it was, and a couple of small movie parts here and there. She was always Leia to me, and seeing this movie really made me think more of Carrie Fisher as opposed to Leia. And yeah, I mean, nothing, it's just a movie in the grand scheme of life, but I'm just happy that there are ways I think her character was done justice. I think her portrayal in this movie, completely overshadows what she did in The Force Awakens.
She was almost a throwaway in TFA.
And not only that, even her performance or the way she gave some of her lines was kind of, I'm going to say clunky a little bit. I didn't really like her performance in The Force Awakens, but, yeah, in this movie, it's a complete 180. And, for my feelings of the actual character, of the woman, of the legacy, and, I don't know. Obviously, if I can go back and change it, then, she'd still be there, for episode 9, but I can't. So, I think that, we could throw her roses now, and, whatever acclaim she gets, for her portrayal in this movie is well deserved. But just as, her career and her life, I think that, I think if you look at what she did in this movie, it's a microcosm of what who she was as an actual person. And I think Carrie and Leia, in my mind, are now one. They're just, I don't look at Carrie Fisher and think Leia, and now they're melded together.
Yeah.
Like forever. So
intertwined for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just so good to see her back sort of in that leadership role. She was there in TFA, but it felt different this time. It felt like the Leia that we knew in the OT. It felt like the Leia fully in charge, calling the shots with a plan, and sort of, obviously they're on their heels, but it always seemed like Leia's going to figure this out. And I adored the portrayal of her in this.
Yeah.
And even that moment, there's the moment where she's sort of laying in that little healing tank, and Luke makes contact with her through the Force, and you just see her like whisper Luke.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. Almost like a direct callback to Empire.
Exactly. Yeah. There were a couple callbacks, the Resistance and the Rebels having to flee their base, and a couple of callbacks, but nothing.
No, there's the whole talk of Empire and The Last Jedi being sort of mirror images of each other doesn't hold up at all.
Yeah, we got more of a callback in The Force Awakens with having an actual snow planet.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so
All right, let's jump over to the Finn and Rose arc, which I thought was pretty key. I mean, I think I don't know if Rose is getting quite the recognition she deserves as a new character. But before we get to Rose, let's talk about Finn's sort of awakening from his coma. I thought it was just, again, hilarious, like downright hilarious for him to sort of pop open his eyes, try to sit up and bang his head on the inside of that dome. I love the way John Boyega brings humor to this role in any situation.
Yeah, he's great. Honestly, I think he's such an amazing actor. And like the subtleties, like you were saying, just like, I believed he banged his head. Like there was, you know what I mean? Just everything that he does, even just little sideways looks at stuff that's happening around him. And, it just, I thought it was great. And
yeah, he always gets these like quizzical looks on his face. Like, what's happening? He's gifted as an actor. He's really able to convey those emotions, especially down comedy lane. It works so well.
And I love how I think it's in his character. The synopsis of his character, where whenever he gets knocked out, he's always knocked out longer than everybody else around him. But when he actually gets out of his like little daze, he's always ready to go.
Yeah,
it's like that stormtrooper thing.
Good
like
to
he's
go.
ready to. Yeah, he's good to go. It's amazing. Like I love that part. I love that part of him.
It was also hilarious, and the movie does this over and over, where it's a pretty heavy situation, but the humor just cuts right through it, and it worked every time for me, pretty much. The moment BB-8 tells Poe that Finn's walking around naked in a sack.
Yeah.
He's like, what? Did you fry a chip? Like what? What's wrong with you? And you look over and you just see Finn walking around with this big suit, just like squirting fluids all over the place,
and he's just shuffling like he's lost in a hallway. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
He almost looks like a senile patient at a old folks home, just
exactly
wandering around the hallway like he has no idea where he is.
See, I'm back, and I have to say that was a little nitpick in the movie for me.
Oh, get out of here, man! Go back on a break.
No, I liked it, but I don't know. I just Finn's wounds seemed more grave than that to me. Like he got out of that situation. No, there was absolutely zero consequence to what had happened to him in The Force Awakens. Like I was really under the assumption that we were going to kind of see a bit of bionic Finn, or at least like lingering wound Finn, like Frodo from The Lord of the Rings. But that wasn't the case. And again, that scene was just the way he was wandering around in the gravitas of the situation. There was a little too much levity at that time for me, I guess, with that. I think that could have been played out a bit differently, but again, it doesn't ruin the film for me. You know what I mean?
Like, if Finn is not bringing comedy, you cut off a huge chunk of his usefulness to a film if he's not being funny.
Oh, plenty of opportunity for that, but we just had that with that Poe and Huck scene, you know what I mean? Like, that was like a big handful there.
But you also pooped on the opening scene of Rebels, where Ezra's having trouble with his jetpack. Like, it's almost like you don't want any funny at all. You just want everything to be epic and serious and dark and gritty.
Oh, I don't know. I do and I don't. Like, when it gets silly, like slapstick, and I get that Star Wars is kind of like that, like Buster Keaton, Jar Jar Binks kind of style, like some of it's got to be a bit silly.
Yeah, but that was too much. You can't compare Finn getting out of his bacta suit to Jar Jar. Like you can't. I mean, there's no way. You can't compare the two.
No, but it's just the slapstick kind of humor to it all. Like
what a Grinch.
Like I get it. Don't get me wrong. I get it. And I laughed, but at the same time, like I was like, man, like there's so much going on right now. Like Kyle said it, I guess I wanted it to feel a little more epic with everything, like the situation.
You didn't get it. We're gonna get to the epic. There's epic in this movie, like.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, so I have no problem with it. I just want to smack you a little bit because Ryan says that the movie kind of takes off from where The Force Awakens ends. But we don't know how much time between Rey landing on Ahch-To, how long that journey was, and how long between the end of The Force Awakens and to the point where they're evacuating the car. You understand?
No, you're right.
So he could have been
So, like,
in that suit for 2-3 weeks easily. Healing.
No, but it's almost as if in interviews, like, it's almost they were alluding to, like, oh yeah, like Foe's back in a big he did it again. Yeah. Finn's back in a big way, and but like his, like, I just thought they were gonna allude to his injuries a little more, like kind of like the Lord of the Rings, where like he's in a situation that's like, oh, my back, like you're not fully healed yet.
Well, you were
not
away.
only that stays fully healed, but that his injuries were quite severe, like spinal injuries, possibly even.
While you were on break, I told Kyle that one of the things I love the most about Finn and in his character is the fact that when he's down and out, he seems to be down and out longer than everybody else. But once he snaps out of it, he's raring to go. I think it's part of his character. I just think that's who he is as a character. So I have no problem with him, walking around a little dazed in his back to suit. But when he puts on that jacket and what looks like a ripoff of Han's shirt from New Hope,
Yeah.
it was pretty much the same shirt.
He won me over in this film, like, in a big way. Like, The Force Awakens, Finn, I was kind of like, yeah, he's cool. Like, I get the character. Like, but in this movie, like, I loved him, man.
Oh no, he was great.
And we also have the partner for Finn in this episode is Rose, and I gotta say she was one of the standouts for me, among many standouts in this movie. But Rose was definitely one of them, and I loved.
Oh, yeah.
I loved her intro too. Just she's super upset about the loss of her sister. Like, this is not a warrior, at least not yet. She's a kid. She's a maintenance worker, mourning the loss of her sister. But you can tell the character's integrity right off the hop. Like, she's bristling. Like, she figures out pretty quick that Finn is trying to jump ship. Finn is still at that point where he's not really ready to commit to anything. He just wants to get Rey and escape with her.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. In The Force Awakens, he's definitely leaving because he's afraid of the First Order, and he's ready to leave Rey. Then Kylo Ren kidnaps Rey, and then he wants to go after her and save her. Now, in this episode, he wants to get away from the Resistance, not because he hates the Resistance, but because he thinks they're doomed, and he doesn't want her to come back to that. He doesn't want her to get stuck in that fight. So I think, like, his character kind of is leaving. There's a little bit of an evolution there in his character that says, you know what? He's not running away because he's afraid for his life. He's running away so that Rey does not come back to her utter destruction and the destruction of the Resistance.
So you're saying so that he can save something that he loves?
Yes. Yes.
Whether or not he
In the
realizes it,
in
yeah.
the words of Rose, no?
Yeah, whether or not Finn realizes that's what's happening. That's what he's doing.
But I have to say this about these two characters. I think it was the most predictable of all the arcs, really. The one that, if anyone had any predictions for this film that came true, these are the ones that were most likely to nail it, in a way.
Elaborate.
Like, we knew they were going to kind of meet up and that she was going to kind of idolize him for a second. Like, oh my God, you are Finn. Like, and that he was most likely jumping ship or something of that nature, and that she's dissuaded by that. She persuades him, or he persuades himself to get involved. They come up with a plan to go to Canto Bight. We didn't necessarily know that it was just him and Poe's plan, or if it wasn't orchestrated by the greater resistance, but then, they go to Canto Bight. They're in search of the Codebreaker. They just happen to fall into DJ, which, again, we didn't really know. I knew the Falthiers.
Fathiers.
Fathiers would play a role in this because I saw a GIF, about, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, which kind of pissed me off again because it's a spoiler. Like, never saw it in any of the trailers, but it's the scene where they bust through the windows into Canto Bight, and someone had made a GIF of that, and I was like, what's up with that? Why would you spoil something like that? You know?
Because they can.
Yeah, but anyway, so I knew that they would come into play at one point, kind of in the grand escape, so to speak. And I definitely thought they were going to carry out their mission. I didn't necessarily think they were going to fail, but
doesn't that make it more realistic? Doesn't that just make the story better?
Oh yeah, it does, for sure. I love that. I absolutely love that. Like they get to the point where they're about to be executed. Sorry, man.
He's up on the beers.
Barely.
You know when the guy got execution.
Anyway, with DJ too, you know, like we kind of said that too with his story arc, that he would pretty much sell them out, like with the possibility of him saving them later on, but that wasn't the case. But more or less, like everything about their arc was somewhat predictable, but the stuff in between was just like gold. The dialogue and the things that actually happen between them.
Well, part of their theme, their story is like the whole theme of meeting your heroes. There's a couple different takes on that in this movie, and Rose meeting Finn is one of them. Like, she's super blown away that this is the guy that took on Kylo Ren and helped take down Starkiller Base.
And she says, "You're the Finn," and he's like, "The Finn."
Yeah, you're a hero. Like, what? You're the best. And he's just like, "Ah, what? What are you talking about?" Like, he kind of knows that at that point he's a bit of a fraud, but he's very quickly ready to step up in this movie and step into those hero shoes.
He doesn't take much prodding, huh? Like, his first instinct is like, "Oh, I gotta get out of here," but then as soon as like the gravity of I mean, he had no family, he had no friendships, and as soon as he found them, he's ready to give his life for them. And I love his
transition. He's full on resistance now. Like, he committed, like you had said. And again, it's touching back on the theme again for every character. This letting go of the past and like moving forward, embracing the past, moving forward. That's what he's doing here, you know what I mean? Like, you could really see that. Like, he's letting go of who he was and becoming who he's meant to be, kind of.
Yeah. And then we have Canto Bight, which we didn't get a ton of in the lead up to the movie and in much of the marketing. We didn't get a ton of this stuff. But we knew we got a vibe of what this place was going to be like. It was sort of Monte Carlo in space, and we saw a lot of stuff in the Vanity Fair shoots. So we kind of had a good picture of what we were getting. But we really get contrasted here with Rose and Finn, who stick out like sore thumbs in their resistance, like grubby, greasy resistance gear. And I think this is Ryan Johnson's little area to make some social commentary about, you know, the haves and the have-nots and the rich and the poor and stuff like that. And I think this is where
and the disillusioned as well.
All that kind of stuff. But I think this is where, I mean, these are Rose's, I think, most important scenes for her thematically, where she's telling Finn to look a little bit closer, because Finn is like, "Look at this place. This is amazing." Yeah, exactly. He's reveling in it, and she's just like, "Why don't you look a little bit closer at what's really going on here?" And he can sort of see for himself, you know, the cravenness, the abusiveness, and
the gluttony.
Yeah, he gets to see all that kind of stuff firsthand now. I like that about Rose. I like that she's sort of that kind of voice in this movie.
Yeah, I love that. That's why, like, when I saw her toy out there today, like, I was like, Rose, come, mine.
But come on, wouldn't have taken much anyways for you to just.
Well, I wasn't as excited for, because it's still, again, the first time I've seen her out there. Like, there's other characters that are going to be peg warmers. Like, sorry to say, like your boy Poe, he's just going to hang for a while.
Yeah,
but they make more of him. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
Probably, I would say that's probably.
I
fair.
am not insulted at all by who's warming pegs. I don't.
It's not that. It's you should be flattered in a way, because like I said, like they just mass produce him in a quantity where like guys are gonna want this guy, girls are gonna want, like, it's just, that's the way it is, man. Like, but when I saw her, I was just like, I really, she did it for me in this film, man.
Yeah, a lot of people had problems with Canto Bight as a sequence as a whole, but if you don't have this movie, you don't get Rose's development, and also there's nothing for Finn and Rose to do if you don't give them this mission. Like, if they stay with the Republic, or sorry, the Resistance, they're just sitting around doing nothing. They're totally wasted if they don't get this side mission. So
but I understood the whole getting them off the ship and having their own little side mission. Completely understood it. I didn't like Canto Bight. I didn't like the casino scene. I've said this before, and forgive me for those listening who've heard me say this. It took me out of Star Wars, and I was expecting to see Bond at a certain point. It was almost too well done in that Monte Carlo.
Was it not like Star Warsy enough? It was too actually Monte Carlo for you?
There was too much gold. It was too there was too much Monte Carlo.
Yeah, they should have got a little more creative. I know what you mean with like holograms and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, the slots were like balls, like, but they were like physical. I would have preferred to see more something like that arcade we see in Attack of the Clones. More of, because that's part of the universe. But this is more like, I don't know. There was
like,
just something
I feel
about
like the setting of that casino probably exists somewhere. I know it's a set that they built, but I feel like that casino could be somewhere on this planet.
Oh, definitely.
With a lot of people in some crazy costumes.
Yeah, it looks like it could have came out of Casino Royale easily. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the visuals were stunning. I'm not going to say anything bad about how it looked, and some of the alien characters were cool. There was one little scene there where there was a man in a white jacket with the red the plume on his lapel,
the palm bloom.
The palm bloom, that's right. And his date is actually like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening? Why are they being arrested? Like, she seemed more interested. Like, is she going to be a character that kind of turns on the opulence and goes towards the rebels? Like, I don't know. There was just something about that little scene there with those two characters that there was just too much prominence in the shot for me to say that that's just a passing by,
I don't know. I think they're just kind of really trying to point out the fact that was the guy and that there was something going on and you're missing it.
But he wasn't the guy. That's the whole point. Like, he wasn't the guy. So there's a reason why they focused on
that's the thing too, though. I think Maz was pointing toward that guy, but they ended up falling into DJ's lap. Like, DJ, I kept looking. I was like, is DJ gonna have that, like, what do you call it? The plume, whatever. That flower. I don't know. The palm bloom. Sorry, man. I've seen the film once. But yeah, like, whatever that was, I was hoping at one point you'd kind of like flash it, like, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, it was him we were looking for this whole time."
Well, I don't think Maz told this character, this code breaker, that I'm sending people for you. I think she was a little tied up when we saw her. What did we think of Maz's cameo, really quick?
It's interesting. It makes me think, like, what battle and where in the galaxy is she right now? Like, that
I love it. I love that she's up to some kind of hijinks somewhere. So she's having some misadventures all over the place. I think that's hilarious for that tiny little withered tangerine.
Yeah, she's at first I was I thought it was cute. I'll say that. I was like, okay, this kind of works for me,
Yeah, it worked for me. I enjoyed her 30 seconds of screen time.
Because it does make sense again. Like, she's lost everything. She's probably kind of scheming around to try and make quick buck to restart something.
I'm sure she has 1,000 irons in the fire somewhere.
Yeah, I'm curious. We'll probably get if not a comic, at least a novel about what she's doing now.
I'd read that for sure. I still think she's a treasure trove of knowledge that we need to, crack into her backstory and figure out what she knows.
For sure, like how she got that saber.
Definitely.
Well, I don't. Well, we'll get there.
It's broken now, right?
It's irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
It's irrelevant, but it's nice to know these things as a fan.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but
the tumbling saber.
It's no longer relevant about where that saber came from or how it came to her possession. Not important. Let's talk quickly about, again, this whole thing of class in Canto Bight. We meet those little slave kids who kind of man the stables where the fathers are, and that comes to be really important towards the end of the movie. But This is where we see Rose kind of planting a seed of hope for the next generation, and this is kind of unbeknownst to her, but just a simple act of kindness on her part to just try and comfort this kid that she's not there to hurt them. They're with the resistance. And she buys a little loyalty just by being nice to somebody. It's amazing how that works.
Well, you know what it really alludes to again? Like, I seem to keep using that word, but it's the future. Like, they have nothing left, the resistance. They're done. They were all on the Falcon by the end of this film. So the resistance is pretty much gone. Like, whatever they have to do, it's the future generations moving forward that are going to dictate kind of what's going on. And that's when they're saying, that quote that Poe says, "We are the fire that is going to spark." And this is the spark. Those kids that we saw are the spark, man. And what Rose helped light that spark.
We are the spark that will light the fire. That's the line.
But anyway, it's perfect, and it leads right back into that. Like, those kids are metaphorically that kind of, or symbolic of that. Like, they are the spark that's going to ignite future generations, man.
Well, to tie up this whole Finn and Rose arc in a bow, once they come back and they're on the ski speeders.
Well, we skipped over the whole supremacy part.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going arc by arc.
Yeah, no. Finn and Rose end up leaving Canto Bight, and DJ gets them onto Snoke's ship, right? Which proves to be one of the cooler sequences of the movie. They're there to shut down that hyperspeed tracking system, right? But of course, DJ sells them out. I think a lot of us saw that coming. That he would flip on them just because it was because it was convenient to, right?
They even they told you it basically. Was it in the trailer? I think. Just look at that one shot of him looking back. It's obviously him stepping to them, and like it was very clear that he was going to turn on them.
Yeah, we talked about it, right? I think we said exactly that. That whoops, I got a better deal.
Yeah, he's not a liar. So he said, "We got caught. I made a deal." That's you can't really like. I mean, they were going to get executed, so I think he did what he had to do. I would challenge any of you to, in that same position, not to say, "Listen,
I got some intel you might be interested in."
Exactly. So
one thing I will say about his character, though, is that I don't think we've seen the last of him the way it ends.
I think we have.
Really? I think it's one of those things where we're going to see him in 9, like Finn, like you, like.
I think
I'd be like,
do we even know that he survived?
Yeah, he left.
Yeah, he got away on his ship, bro.
Yeah, they gave him a ship.
He was long gone. He had his ship. He'd stolen the ship from Canto Bight.
But who knows where that is in relation to where they were in that execution hangar? Like, he could have been on the other side of the ship for all we know. And
where do you think he was taking his money to?
Do you think it was in that hangar? Like, that's not where they parked it.
Well, the way they were escorting him somewhere, whatever it is, and DJ made out a rich man.
That's where the spit hit the fan. Like, right at that point is where Holdo rammed the Radis at light speed right through the supremacy, and that's where things went crazy. Like, who knows who's like when things come to in that burning.
I think
hangar,
he was
there's like 2 people
clever
left alive.
enough to get away. Yeah, I think I think he was clever enough to get away.
Yeah, I think honestly, I believe he gets away, and I believe that there's something about that character. The whole, I mean, he doesn't speak much, and when he does, half the time he's stuttering. And when the one thing that he does say is "Don't join," and that tells me that in episode 9 he will join, and he's going to put all his chips in behind the rebels. So that's my.
It's possible, yeah. That feels possible regret or something like that.
Yeah,
the character was super interesting too, and the way Benicio pulled it off too. Like you had said, Kyle, the stutter, the subtle stutter, like it really.
Well, yeah, he brought some flair to that role. The way he kind of like zips and drags his fingers through his little code breaking tools. There was a panache to that character, and adding the stutter. I don't know if that was Del Toro's own twist to that character.
Del Toro.
What did I say?
Benicio del Toro.
That's true.
shut your mouth. I gotta feel
suspects.
like, in my opinion, I could be wrong, and I'll be happy to be wrong because he is interesting. But I think we're done with him. I don't know. I don't know that we'll see a role for him in 9.
I see it fitting. Like, if you want to talk about characters serving characters, Last Jedi is a pretty prime example of that. So I don't see why not. You know, in the next film, you could see him and Finn being like, "Mother."
Yeah, maybe. Again, I'm happy to be wrong. I just personally don't see it. But hey, we'll find out.
I can see both ways actually. So, you know, maybe Kyle's right or we're right to a certain extent.
I mean, it depends on what other talents he has. Like, are they going to need a code breaker again?
He's not just
if you don't,
it could be a
a
small galaxy thing. Just bump into him somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
He's a pilot, right? So he has a lot of talents.
But then we get a nice little battle right before their execute, or right after the execution scene. We get, which surprised me. I had a theory that this trilogy was going to build up in episode 9 to Finn versus Phasma. I thought in this episode, Finn's going to take on a tougher breed of stormtrooper. But that didn't happen. Like he just went right to the main event against Phasma. Like that, and again, good riddance. I'm glad that she's gone. Like that, it was one villain too many. She served no purpose in either TFA or The Last Jedi. I think Rian Johnson was smart and correct to recognize that and write her out. I mean, she really has like 2 scenes.
Well, when you say it like that Rian Johnson is correct in writing her out, I might have to agree with you because I was like, how is he saying this is right when a character has absolutely no purpose? And that's exactly what I got from this too. Like, she served Finn's character, but yeah, there was nothing to it, man. Like, we've got books, we've got comics, they explain some stuff, but it's like,
to what end?
Man, like, yeah, that's it. Like, nothing happened in the movies. In the first movie, she divulges information, and in this movie, actually, one of my predictions came true. I said she would get cracked in the face by Finn, Twilight of the Apprentice style, and we'd see like her eye or half her face or something through her mask, and that actually did happen.
Exactly,
but I still didn't. I didn't expect her to die. You know, like I thought she'd kind of worm her way into the episode 9, but to have her die, I was like, what a waste, man. Like, honestly, like I get that we kind of needed that character in a way, but to me, it's I don't know. Like, that's when you start realizing, like, oh man, it's like I look at it right, and I see it more as a movie at that point. You know what I mean? Like I get that character was there for this, and it just could have been a little more meaningful for that character.
That character was almost cannon fodder. Like, she's completely useless. I can't stand that character. Carlos, do you have any thoughts on Phasma's demise?
I'm on board with you. Like, I think the character's cool. I bought the Lego brick heads of Finn and Phasma, and I'm happy that he cracked her in the face. I think that's the point. Like, she's an oppressor. She's the captain of a squadron of stormtroopers who are there mostly against their will. or stolen from families that they've never known.
And they know no other way.
Yeah, they know exactly. But he's the one guy who stands up for them, and I think she serves that purpose, and it's to get her head cracked in.
What's that going to do to his ego moving forward, or his confidence level as well, man? Like,
it's not. I don't.
I did it, man. No, I won't say ego, but confidence level. Like, moving forward with the rebellion, like him too. He's got to be like at general status. Like, he's Finn now. You know, like everyone's like, it's Finn. Oh my god, like the guy that's playing with the big boys and the Jedi and all this stuff. You know, like he's probably gonna have a major role. Like he's always done something crazy. Like people are gonna look up to him in the next one.
Yeah, he doesn't.
So,
he doesn't walk away from the fight. He walks towards it, and not only that, his first parry into the fight, he jumps up and like crazy move. You know, like it's more than what I had expected. Looking at the trailer, seeing how he comes over the top and she blocks his first attack, but seeing his actual first attack in the movie. And, you know, how he's developing into a fighter, you know, just an evolution compared to what we see him do to Kylo Ren, in The Force Awakens. I love this character. I really, really love this character.
I love Finn. I think he's great.
Yeah.
But you know what's funny
he's
though?
Smart.
It kind of shows the world that we live in. See, one of the criticisms of Rey, she's overpowered. How can she take on Kylo Ren with no training? Well, here we have Finn, who just in TFA got his clock cleaned by a stormtrooper. Traitor! That guy.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a little bit, Finn gets put into a coma, wakes up, kills Phasma. Like, does any of this sort of not jive? Like, no one's saying, how did... Finn...
He didn't get his ass kicked by the stormtrooper.
Of course he did. He was about to die. He absolutely got whooped by that stormtrooper. And then he wakes up from a coma. Wakes up from a coma and takes Phasma to the woodshed and kills her.
But the lead up to The Force Awakens and books and stuff, like he was a pretty like prominent soldier all the same, no? Like he knew his way around. He knows his way around all that stuff, and I like the way that they pointed that out. Like he's smart the way he talked with Rose. Like he knows his technology stuff.
That's fine, but there's sort of something in the in fandom. Like nobody said, geez, that's kind of a leap for Finn to be able to take out Phasma like that. But if Rey takes down Kylo, how did she do that? And
it was never a problem for me either.
It's not a problem on either end for me. It never was. But it's sort of strange to me that nobody's talking about, hey, that's sort of odd that Finn just kind of wakes up from a coma and takes out the baddest stormtrooper of all. Plays t-ball with her head.
Yeah, he catches her off guard too. Like there's luck in that equation.
Yeah,
she's a little bit distracted. But
did you guys notice it was kind of like Marty McFly in part 2 when he jumps off the roof and lands on the DeLorean, comes up and knocks Biff out with the door. It kind of resembled that, It had a little bit of that Back to the Future vibe.
A little bit of that.
That's funny.
But yeah, again, I'm not complaining. I think it's fine. I don't really have a problem with it, but I think there's a little bit of I don't even know what the right word is. Whatever. But yeah, I think I made my point there.
Well, he has training, right? So he's been trained since birth, or not since birth, but from a young age to fight. And whether his day-to-day job was to mop the floors or sanitation or what have you, I mean, he's still is trained to fight. So there's something there.
There's the training, not only the training, but just the fact that it's this fight, it's now or never, and he's committed to that. Like, kind of gives you that Rocky edge in a way. You know what I mean? Like you're just more motivated. Like you're more in the heat of the moment. Kind of, you're feeling it more, using the Force a bit.
Okay, I mean that's fine. I mean you don't have to justify it to me. I'm just saying that why it's okay for Finn to take out somebody with, given a disparity in talent and strength and all that stuff. But when Rey did it, it's suspect. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm not part of that fandom that was questioning, Rey's power. So
Yeah, no, I mean, just an observation, and it is out there.
oh no, for sure.
And then finally, down on Crate, they get off the Supremacy through sheer luck and a little help from BB-8 piloting a walker, which a lot of people groaned over.
I loved it.
I loved it. Sorry, not sorry. I thought it was hilarious. And, I don't know if being a dad helped with that, but when I first saw that, my first thought went to my son and my daughter, who I know one day whenever they see this, they will pee their pants laughing. So that was
Well, it's not only that. Like we've seen Astromechs pilot all kinds of things. Like that part wasn't a big leap for me.
No, yeah, it wasn't. A lot of people did kind of groan at that, which for me it's not a problem.
No,
Star
Star
Wars makes a lot of things possible.
Seriously.
Anyway, so they get off the Supremacy and down onto Crate, and they all suddenly know how to pilot a janky speeder. Thank goodness. But there's a moment where Finn seems like he's going to make the ultimate sacrifice, and we saw part of those moments in trailers where he's not going to let them win. And I didn't know at that. I mean, I don't think any of us did that. Finn was geared up. Corey, you asked the question, like, what does Phasma do to his ego? I don't think it does anything to his ego. He was ready to sacrifice himself.
Mm-hmm.
No, his confidence level, his understanding, like he's just more committed than ever.
Committed than ever, yeah, sure. But I don't think there was ever a thing that he was going to be any more full of himself or thinking that he's...
I have to say, though, at that moment in the theater, like, watching it the first time, I'm like, they had me, man. I'm like, he's doing it. He's going to do it. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, I'm like, we're going to lose Finn.
I was bracing for that more than the Leia moment where I kind of knew that they'd bring, like, that was not the end for Leia. I'm like, really? Is this really going to be the end for John Boyega? And I'm going through my Rolodex again, thinking, what information can I fall back on? And the thing I pulled up to say, okay, Finn's going to be okay. And this is all happening in, half a second as your brain works. John Boyega said that he was happy that JJ was coming back for 9 because blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, okay, so Finn can't die. And sure enough, Rose comes out of the blue and sideswipes him and knocks him out of the way of this Death Star miniature Death Star cannon, right? That's kind of the way they referred to it.
Something like that.
Yeah, so Rose swoops in, saves the day, and we get that really poignant line from Rose where she says, we don't fight against the things we hate, we fight... What does she say? Fight to save the things we love?
We don't win by killing what we hate, but by saving the things we love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a great line.
Yeah, it had me in tears
beautiful.
The second time.
Yeah, such a nice line, and that was...
And the kiss. Don't forget the kiss, Kyle.
That's a little... Yeah, well, that was a call that I made a long time ago. That I think
it was on
these
the
two are gonna be the Star Wars couple going forward.
Yeah, I think it was on your powerful friends questionnaire.
I put that in there as well. Yeah, just to see what people would say. Yeah, and that kind of takes us to the end of Finn's arc, which and Rose's arc, which I think really cleverly written by Rian Johnson.
Oh, honestly,
very exactly. Yeah. I think you said it right. Like cleverly written, but we knew not necessarily exactly where it was going, but the general outline of that arc.
And also, I think Rose's theme on the soundtrack is terrific, so good. And even when we see it in the movie where they're kind of running on the beach on Canto Bight, mm-hmm. I believe that's pretty much her theme. One of the better moments of the score, in a score that has a lot of good moments.
Yeah, I haven't had the time to hit up Spotify for that yet.
Oh, you got to get on that. It's really, really good score. Just finally on their arc, the intro of one of my new favorite characters. and I found him today in the Visual Dictionary. I think his name is Slow and Low.
Mr.
The Joseph Gordon-Levitt character. But it's the way this guy speaks that has me in stitches every time. Do you guys know this character?
Yeah, he's the one that he's talking to them.
I told them not to park on the beach, but they didn't listen to me.
Yeah.
He's got to be my kind of sleeper character, my favorite sleeper character. I love that character, man.
There's speculation of Mark Hamill being the character that was trying to slip all the coins in the BB-8.
Mark Hamill,
because he does have a second. Yeah, Mark Hamill's got a second credit in the Force Awakens or in the Last Jedi.
Is he doing the voice maybe? Because I think
yeah, he's doing the voice for a CGI character. Like I saw the interview where he said he asked Rian Johnson, "I'd like to do that," and they agreed on something. But he said, "I won't tell you who it is." He's like, "I want someone to kind of pick it out." So now the speculation's out there. Nothing's been confirmed as of yet, but fans are kind of pointing toward that one scene where that guy's slipping all the coins in BB-8.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. I'll go with that. All right, so that's the end of Rey and sorry, not Rey. Finn
and Rose.
Finn and Rose. I'm getting tired here, guys.
Rin and Foes.
Foe and Pin.
Let's get to the main event here with Rey and Luke and Kylo and Snoke. Sort of the heart of the film. But we'll go back to the beginning on Act 2. And Luke tosses away the saber after all this time of waiting and waiting. What's he going to do? Who called it? Did anyone call it? He's going to toss it away?
I think we did at one point. We one of us said, I don't know if it was me, you, or James, or possibly even Carlos, like just saying, like, imagine if he just did that, and we're like, ha ha ha, ha. Like just tossed it off as a joke. But I'm sure one of us has said it at one point.
I don't remember, maybe, but it came off as kind of a surprise to me. I thought maybe he'd give it back to her, but it makes sense, right? He's like, forget this thing. I don't want to forget this. I don't want any part of this thing.
Well, knowing the character exactly, like after having seen the film, yeah, it makes sense.
And he wants no part of Rey. We knew this coming into the film. There was nothing that was gonna bring him back, and he kept saying that throughout the movie that no, I'm not going back. And we kept thinking that maybe he will. Something's got to bring him back, but he was resolute, man. Like he was not going to help. How'd that guys make you feel?
I think that has to be a lot of people's hurt and pain, because it did, like I have to say, expectations, right? Heroes from childhood, we were really expecting that. That's what we wanted. I think that's what we all wanted deep in our hearts. Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Well, geez, I think, yeah, I mean, the way we kind of path this out in our brain is that, yeah, okay, Luke's going to resist for a while, then he's going to train Rey, and he's going to show up at the end and help save the day, so to speak. But I think throughout the film, we get these very on-the-nose comments, and I think Luke gave one away. He said, what do you think, I was going to just pick up my light sword or my laser sword and take on the First Order alone, or something to that effect? And I think in our minds we're going, yeah, that's kind of what we're expecting from you.
That's kind of what he did too.
In his own, at the end of the day, in his own special way,
in
a very unexpected way. That's kind of what he did. But
but it took so much to get there, and the fact, like you said, just to see your hero from childhood so completely decimated and jaded, and just no matter what's said to him, like he's resolute in his convictions,
Did it feel unnatural to you that Luke had undergone this change? Like I think a lot of people in their minds,
yes, like it kind of, like a lot of people would said it right off the bat, and I think you yourself had said it as well. Like it negates Jedi almost to have Luke in such a predicament.
It doesn't. No, but I didn't say that wasn't me.
Oh, I'm sure you've said that many times. For Luke to not like come back and like it really negates what happens in Jedi in a way.
No, I don't think Kyle ever said that. I'm pretty sure We've heard that from quite a few people, but Kyle wasn't one of those.
Well, either way, that's not the case
to me anymore.
Yeah. Like, it hurts to see as fans. Like, you want Luke to have that moment, and he does in this film, thank God. But it's like he was really... It's like you want to see the Mr. Miyagi Luke, right? Like, you want to see him come full circle and be like, let's do this thing, Rey. But it just never comes to that. Like, she leaves him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he completely shut himself off from the Force. Like, he didn't even know about Han. I think to a man, I think we all kind of expected that, oh yeah, if Leia felt Han die, then certainly Luke felt it too.
That's interesting. That's really interesting that Luke didn't feel it and Leia was just like...
Well, because Luke, that's it. He cut the cord. He was off the clock. He was not paying attention to the Force at all. Which is, that to me is a bit of a shocker. Like, when he said he was going there to die, like he didn't mean he was going to go there to eventually become one with the Force. He just meant he was going to sit there and just die an old man and just rot in a cave.
So that's just one thing I kind of... Okay, if you still have your principles about you, if that's the case, you're gonna rot away. Like, if you're that jaded, like, why not just kill yourself, you know? Oh, that's not the Jedi way, but, you know, like, everything that you've done to this point is really not the Jedi way, you know? Like, you're just gonna sit there and wait because it's not the right thing to do to kill yourself if you really just want to die.
Like, I don't even know if he still considered himself Jedi. I mean, can you? If you cut yourself off from the very thing that you're supposed to worship, are you still really a part of that? Are you still that thing?
I don't think he can ever really... He could shut it out probably as best he can, but I don't think he could ever really let that go.
Well, I mean, he comes back to it. There's that... It's a great scene where Luke touches the Force, kind of like for the first time in who knows how long. Where he's, you know, that little...
kerfuffle with Rey?
Not even that. I don't even know if he was using the Force there, but when he starts...
Yeah, go on.
You know, that's like that seal on the floor? And it's like it starts to vibrate. The water in it starts to vibrate. That's sort of his first time. Anyway, the way I interpret that is that was his first time touching the Force in ages, and that's what allows him to sort of reach out and connect with Leia. And that for me was Luke sort of coming back around, because to that point he was just nothing, no way. But yeah, a lot of people struggling with this version of Luke that had just completely checked out.
Well, it hurts, man. Like I said, it's like he did all that lead up for the 6 movies for Luke to come out on top, and you know, to see his father to death, and it's a happy ending, and now we are where we are. It's like, it does hurt. I'm not going to deny that. I
just want to say, like, as far as the Luke, the whole Luke arc between the Return of the Jedi and where we find him now, there's lifetimes in between those two movies. It's like I look at myself now at 38 years old, and I remember what I was at 29 and 31. I'm a completely different person.
Absolutely.
So how many times has Luke changed over that time? How many times have you changed over that time? I think it's unfair. It. Yeah. Well,
it's not only that, but like, I think Jedi are supposed to kind of maintain that kind of like continuous thing there, but like, we got the answer in this film. What really changed Luke is what happened with himself and Kylo. And that was to me personally, like, when everyone's like, don't let anyone spoil this for you. Like, if there were any spoiler in this film, let me ask you guys, like, what do you think it is? To me personally, it's the fact that Luke, those flashbacks of Luke are just so incredible. Like, the first one from Kylo's perspective, Luke looks like the devil. Like, I was like, in my seat, like, looking at it, I'm like, oh my God. When you see it from Luke's perspective, it's a little different. But I think that's like the moment, you know?
Sure. Yeah, but Carlos touches on something I think is super important to bear in mind. For us fans, there's a Luke in 6 and there's a Luke in 7 and 8. And we just draw a straight line to those two and say, this doesn't work. There's 30 years in between. People will change, and there's been a lot of tragic events in Luke's life. in his recent past. That will
Well, I think
that will change
it's
you.
the Temple and Kylo.
It's that for sure. It's that for sure. It's that. That will change a person. I don't think it's just so easy to say, well, that sucked. But you know what? Buck up. I've got things to do.
He gives the numbers down. He breaks it down. How many students were there? I think
A dozen students.
How many was it?
And
5 left with Kylo.
yeah, he said a handful. I think
He said 5 straight up. No,
I don't think he didn't put a number to it.
No, I'm pretty sure he did.
I'm pretty sure he didn't.
I've seen it once. I'm pretty sure it was 5.
I've seen it twice. There's no number.
Really?
No, I'm certain I'm virtually certain that he says that he left with a handful of my students and slaughtered the rest.
That's why I was thinking Praetorian Guard.
Knights of Ren?
Well, no, I was thinking, possible Knights of Ren or Praetorian Guard, like, they kind of got assimilated into that.
Very possible.
Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I just look at it like I didn't have any expectations of, there's what you want to see and what you feel the saga should bring, what you don't want to see, and then there's what they gave us. Like, it's normal that people are going to be disappointed or jaded or whatever, Oh yeah, Luke, he's a Jedi man. Well, no, you don't know what he is. That's the whole point. They can actually go back and do a trilogy of those 30 years that are missing.
Well, no, like you nailed it, Carlos. Like, that's the whole thing about this thing that people are having a hard time dealing with is the expectation level. We said it from the beginning. Like, we had this headcanon, whatever it is. Luke is jaded. We all kind of knew that, but now we always thought that he was going to kind of make a 360 and come back and save the day, and he kind of did, but
He completely did.
We didn't expect it to go the way it did, though.
No, not at all. But you know what? I think this is there's a problem, I think, in Star Wars, in that when something bad happens, it's rare that we really get to see it. And I'm talking about Alderaan. We don't get to see that. Like, we see it blow up, but we have no connection to that place. We don't know Leia very well at that point. So this planet blows up. All we have to go on is her reaction. And she doesn't she's a strong character. She doesn't burst into tears. She doesn't freak out. So we're like, okay, if she can deal with it, so can I. Invasion of Naboo. Catastrophic death toll. I didn't see one dead person. I don't care. I really don't care about what's happening on Naboo. And I think it would have helped a lot of people if there had been some more backstory about how Luke's Academy fell. If we had seen this, if we had seen how it affected Luke, I think it would be easier to swallow this for people that are struggling with this version of Luke. It would be easier for them to deal with if you saw what happened to him in more detail. I think there's a lot
of aspects of that film that could have gone into more detail that I was a little disappointed with, but that's a big one that you had just mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's something that happens in Star Wars frequently that at some point it's got to be fixed. I mean, they had plenty of time to fill in some cracks here. They could have easily given us something somewhere to show us why Luke is in this state. Anyway, so I feel like for somewhere where it's a jarring swing in character and a betrayal of the characterization of Luke, I think it's at least it's an honest story from Rian Johnson. It would have been very easy for him to bring Luke back into the fold, put him in his Jedi robes, give him a lightsaber, and have him run out there swinging lightsabers, using the Force.
Exactly.
Like, that would have been easy.
Ignite the green. That would, like you said, it'd be easy. Expectation levels.
Like that would be the crowd pleasing thing to do, and people go yay. But I think this has made a far more compelling story.
I couldn't agree with you more.
All right, so
I love it. I have absolutely no problem with
that was the shock, right? Like, that was the shock.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the. I mean, if there was to be a, I mean, there is no "I'm your father" moment in this movie, but I think the big shocks are certainly seeing
Luke's
Luke
death.
in this state of mind, and seeing, yeah, I mean that's kind of, and
Well, it's
like,
Luke. I think the big shocks are Luke's state of mind, Luke trying to kill Kylo,
And
Luke's death.
yeah, those are big ones. So we get a really great scene. I mean, there's so many great Luke scenes. I mean, there's no way we can cover them all in one show, I don't think. But the Yoda Luke scene, like, how perfect was that?
It was amazing.
So good, man. We called it. Oh my god, I can't believe we actually saw the puppet Yoda back in action. It was amazing, man.
That was so well written. I find that was just a natural extension of the conversations they had on Dagobah, both in Empire and
Exactly.
Jedi. It just felt so perfect.
And I heard, and I also heard it. It's so cool when Luke spoke to R2 and when Luke spoke to Yoda. I heard Luke, like not Mark Hamill or anything. Like I heard young Luke.
Yeah. I mean, it helps when Yoda addresses him as young Skywalker.
Well, it's just the tone and pitch of his voice, like the way he whined with R2. Like it was right back to 1970 something, you know?
Yeah. They kind of time warped it. Luke or Mark Hamill acted the hell out of those scenes then, and he did it again now. I think we all kind of fell for Yoda's little Rickroll trick about the text in the trees, or the Jedi text, where we thought that they got burned. Luke was going to go torch it himself. Lo and behold, Yoda does it for him, and then tells Luke that there's nothing in that tree that Rey doesn't already possess. And the way I took it, and I think a lot of people took it, was Rey possesses all the qualities to be a great Jedi. She'll grow to be wise and powerful. We don't need the books. We've got Rey.
Yeah, he's trying to tell him that it's already inside her. Whatever, all the things that she needs to know are already inside her. But in reality,
he's being literal about it. She took the books. They're on the Falcon.
She took them. Yeah.
That was just genius to me. I don't know how many people realize or noticed that the first time around, but it took me a second viewing to go, oh, there's the books.
Yeah, we had talked about it in the thread, and I had said that other people had seen it, and the first time around, obviously, it went straight over my head. But the second time around, I was actually looking for it, and wow, like clear as day, like this, you see the spines of the books, like the ivory that's carved, like it's fantastic, it's amazing, and yeah, it makes that scene, that Yoda scene, even better. It makes it even better. Like he's like, you're such a young fool, man. You still have a lot to learn, young Skywalker. Like, you know, it was pretty funny.
I couldn't believe it. You know, like it's so funny. You guys pointed out to me, and I'm like, or I'd seen it somewhere, and I swear to God, I remember seeing it vividly in the movie. It just didn't. I was so taken aback at this point in the movie. I was so in another world, but I clearly remember. I think it's basically when Rey's putting her lightsaber away, if I'm not mistaken, or the broken lightsaber, that you see the books in this drawer.
It's Rey is actually looking for, not Rey, but Finn is looking for a blanket to give Rose.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, but you see the drawer open, right? And like all these books are just lined up there, and I'm like, okay, could those be those books? And I thought about it, but it just slipped my mind completely. But when you put those two dots together, and Yoda's just like, hey, like it's amazing. It's like it's really what gives Luke that spark that he needed, that kick in the ass that he needed.
Yeah, that's
you know,
the change.
He
in Luke.
wanted to run back. He wanted to run back in that tree and be like Master Yoda, what are you doing? You know, like. And then we all start alluding to, oh my God, like the knowledge is within Rey. Like she's ancient, she's more, she's mystic from the Force, from millions of generations ago.
Reincarnated.
And incarnated. That's it. All this stuff, but no, she just has the books.
But all that
And,
other, but that's the beauty, is that all that other stuff could still be true.
That's true too. It could really, all this stuff could still play into actually Rian Johnson's new trilogy, and he could use Daisy Ridley again.
Yeah, I mean, let's not tangent down there yet. Holy smokes. Yeah, I think that was the kick in the ass that got Luke caring again. I mean, if he really wanted the Jedi to end, then just let the books burn. Like, that was a really quick about face with Luke, from wanting to burn it all down himself to saying, Yoda, what are you doing? The sacred Jedi texts.
Yeah, you're calling my bluff? What the hell?
Exactly.
I think Yoda pulled that out of Luke, that Luke still does care, and got him back in the fold, because it's after that scene the next day where Luke heads to his meditation rock, kind of touches the Force again for the first time, and from that point on, the rest is history. Let's talk about Kylo for a second here, and Adam Driver's performance. This guy is just ridiculously good at acting this role.
Yep, he's perfect for it, man. It's the face quivers or something like that. Like, he's just got these muscle twitches or something that conveys such emotion, his conflict.
Yeah. I think that's the big deal. Like, they needed somebody who was able to really convey inner turmoil, and it's almost impossible to imagine anybody else doing this role. But there's a moment in this where you want to root for Kylo for a second. They keep having these, Rey and Kylo keep having these little back and forths through the Force, and through it all, you kind of want to start rooting for Kylo, despite what he did to Han. There's something about the character where you're just like, you feel something for him. There's empathy there. But I think that all goes up in smoke soon enough. Carlos, how do you feel about Kylo? Do you still feel he's just your straight up bad guy, or is it more complicated for you?
I'm not gonna say it's more complicated, because there was always that in the back of my mind, a possibility of Kylo Ren being redeemed. That's gone now. I don't. He makes it quite clear, especially at the end.
Yeah, he makes his decision.
Yeah, he
takes his best shot, right? He tries to bring Rey over to his side, and she tries to bring him over to her side. There's obviously they're trying to work to some sort of arrangement, but when Kylo doesn't get his way, he's by the end he's an unhinged madman.
Oh yeah, exactly. And when he sees the Falcon on Crate and sends all those TIE fighters to destroy the
shoot that hunk of junk out of the sky.
Yeah, he's losing it, and then when Luke appears, he's like, fire everything at Luke, and more, like he's like
he's
I love
unhinged
that about him.
It was one of my favorite moments. Like, completely unhinged. And a side note, Finn's reaction to they hate that ship. Like, like, great. It was great. And I don't know. I love Kylo Ren as a character. I love to hate him. I expect for him to do things that make me want to hate him, and I love that about it. You understand what I mean?
You know, oh, for sure. Like, that's what was great about this character as well. Like, I had said this so many times, like, just again, because of the trailers, the misleads, beautiful misleads, like these expectations, like, again, it's the headcanon. Kyle said, like, people set these things up and then they're kind of hurt by it, these things not coming true. Like, and Rian Johnson set us up for that as well. Like, the scene where Kylo is taking Rey to Snoke, like, it's Jedi, the elevator scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, the framing is that. So it's like you're thinking redemption. Like, they're really pointing you in that direction, that it's the redemption thing. But Kylo, he's just he's too far gone, and he wants that power. Now he's the supreme leader. Like, that's what he's always been aching and yearning for, and he's got it. But we all believed, I don't think we all believed, but I think there was a really good chance, and the movie was really pointing in that direction too at first, that Kylo's, the light's still in him. He can come back. Rey's seen his future. He can still come back.
Yeah, Rey alluded to that. She saw his future super clear. And it's not what we thought it was. It's not full of darkness. But it's clearly not what Kylo wants, right? He wants to follow this path. And he tries to get Rey to follow it with him. But, I mean, this is that scene in Snoke's throne room where you're thinking, is this where Ben turns? And again, another brilliant bit of filmmaking, I think, from Rian Johnson is you have Snoke. We haven't spoken about Snoke at all. We get plenty of him in this movie. Snoke is reading Kylo's thought. I mean, this is his specialty, getting in people's heads and seeing their thoughts. And Kylo is turning the saber almost in a position to kill Rey, but he's simultaneously turning the saber on the throne, pointing it towards Snoke. So, yeah,
he's kind of trying to fool him there, manipulate him.
Snoke doesn't see it coming.
The manipulator.
He doesn't see it coming at all. And then, of course, the big moment where he turns it on, and you're like, "Oh, Kylo Ren's back, baby!" He's turned to the light. Snoke falls in half, and it's a kind of shocking moment.
It's huge. That's it's a little qualm from the movie for me. The fact that, again, Snoke has been so character serving. Like, I wanted a little more backstory, a little more. He's so goddamn powerful with the Force, man. Like, whatever he was doing, like the misleads again with the ring and the kyber crystals, and he's really in nothing. Like, he was just character serving toward Kylo.
We've spent the last 2 years freaking out over Snoke. Who is he? Is he Plagueis? Is he this or that? Is he Darth Jar Jar? What is Snoke? And it turns out doesn't matter.
Yeah, granted, again, like the Emperor as well in Empire, we knew nothing by the end of it. The Empire Strikes Back, we absolutely knew nothing about the Emperor.
Yeah.
But at least we kind of got something afterward. Like, Snoke, to me, is still super interesting. The ancientness behind him. I think a lot of fans, again, with their headcanon, were thinking, oh, what's Snoke really got to do with all this? Like, we thought he was going to be like this ancient, wise guy with this, the dark meets the light, and this is what I'm looking for. It's the answer to this. And
it's meaningless. When the credits started rolling, and we all started talking to one another at the theater on our first viewing, and James said, "Your Snoke theory is irrelevant." That was the first thing out of his mouth. Your Snoke theory is irrelevant, and it is. It's irrelevant. We don't need to know anything.
James should make T-shirts, stickers,
or is
lollipops.
Or is it?
I honestly, I hope we get more in expanded literature, because the fact that he was so old, that's what intrigued me. Like, how old is this guy? What's his actual end game? Why was he trying to get to Rey by using Kylo and this and that? Like, what was that all about? But it's just
doesn't matter anymore.
Look, if Kylo was fooled,
but it does matter to me, Kyle.
If Kylo was fooled into thinking that Luke Skywalker was in front of him on Crate, who's to say that Snoke is actually in that throne room? I'm not, honestly, guys, I'm not convinced. I am not convinced that he's in that throne room. There's
Carlos getting all Matrixy on us.
Well, no, I mean, they showed it to us in this film with another character. It's not, it's not out of the realm of possibility. They did it.
For sure. Oh yeah, they did it.
So,
but it was perfect.
Oh no! It was, look. That's probably my. I mean, if I could just watch one scene over and over, it's that throne room scene. That throne room scene. Like, I love it. Rey and Kylo back to back, and I just thought it was great. Honestly, I really love that scene. But I'm just not. I'm really not convinced. It was too easy. If Snoke is in that throne room, how do you not hear the lightsaber turning a little bit?
He was so preoccupied, probably reading one.
No, it's too easy. It's just.
Well, there's a lot of things in this film that were a little too easy. You know what I mean? It's one of those things like it's either you accept it and go with the flow, or like that's not a big pin. Like I've nitpicked at the film. You guys have gotten on my case, but that's one thing that's not a big deal for me.
Yeah, but I'm not
nitpicking.
I'm not nitpicking it. All I'm saying is that I believe that there's something greater to that. I'm not saying that that was crappy. What I'm saying is it's not a nitpick at all. All I'm saying is that we're ready to turn the page on this character, when in reality I'm not too sure that there's not more about this character. And Corey, I'm going to come back to something you said a couple of minutes ago about the Emperor. What did we learn about the Emperor after Empire? Listen, what did we learn about the Emperor after Jedi? Nothing. That we learn more about the Emperor in A New Hope.
In the prequels, for sure.
Well, the prequels for sure, because it's a backstory, but in A New Hope, when Tarkin comes in and says that the Emperor has dissolved the Senate, we learn, you know more about the Emperor in that scene than you do in the other two movies. Besides the fact that he dies, that's all you know. So, I don't know, like, do we have to know more about Snoke? No. Is there a door? I think the door is ajar. The door is not locked. It's not closed. I believe, like I said, JJ has.
Well, to me, it's just it's the curiosity with me, the creativeness, the fact that he was so old, and that he seems to have been around for so long. It's like, okay, well, this guy's been playing the long game. What was the point to all that? Like, what was he trying to accomplish with this light and the dark and the balance and whatever he saw?
Well, look,
like I'm curious of those things.
If you look at what I wrote on Skype under my avatar, I wrote the first Jedi, and Luke is at the first Jedi temple. And if you look at the character in the middle of the light and the dark of that Jedi character in that mosaic where the water was dancing, you referred to it earlier, Kyle, when Luke finally uses the Force and we see those ripples in the water.
Yep.
If you look at that character, it looks like Snoke. There's even
really, that flew over my head.
There's even like a line going through the character's head to separate the light and the dark that looks exactly like the scar that's on Snoke's forehead. I'm telling you, there's way more to this than what we're seeing right now.
That's why I hope Ryan's new trilogy comes back to all this.
Yeah, but
and somehow it's different, but ties it all together.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna have anything to do with any characters we've ever seen. It's gonna be completely off the charts, I think.
Or maybe planets like Acto, because that's another character. If you consider planets characters, like Acto itself, like it was cool to be there and get those explanations, whatnot. But I really wanted a little more from the Jedi origins. Like I would have liked to have opened a book and at least read one page and been like, "Holy cow, that's crazy! This is different than what we really thought." Like anything about that, I was really like super eager for, and we really didn't get any of that.
Nope. Anyways, all I'm saying is that it's not. I'm not saying that it's not what we saw. I'm not ready to say that your Snoke theory sucks or your Snoke theory is irrelevant, because I believe that there's a chance, and I could be completely wrong. And if I am, hey, I don't care. It's still another Star Wars movie where I get to watch it and enjoy it. So I don't have any vested interest in being right or wrong. I'm not so quick to throw down the gauntlet on Snoke is irrelevant.
That's another take I hadn't considered. 'Cause in my head, he's 100% dead, and this is just serving the Kylo character. But yeah, maybe he was jerking our chains the same way Luke eventually did. But I think the decision to kill Snoke now is a really gutsy one, and sets up Episode 9 to be completely unpredictable. Mm-hmm. To have Snoke around in 9,
I love it.
And if you had Snoke and Ren still around in 9, and then with the upstart underling, you get the Return of the Jedi scenario, and you open the door for JJ to do another air quotes rehash, and now he doesn't have that to rely on. That's gone.
Yeah, but what if it's a power struggle now? where there was no real power struggle between Vader and Palpatine until he actually picks him up and throws him down that shaft.
Yeah, he was subservient. Like, Kylo's aiming a little higher. Like, I could just bypass this, like, right now and just raise right to the top. Like, here's my opportunity. He took it, which is super, I don't know, man. Like,
so I never
like
saw
Kyle
this
said,
as
unhinged Kylo.
I never saw Kylo as somebody who wanted to be supreme leader. Like, I saw him as somebody who just wanted to slay his own personal demons. And now
I see him. He was the mask, all that stuff. Like, he just wanted to please Snoke, but now it seems like all he wants to do is, like, wipe out, like, just control and, like, destruction almost.
He just wants
like
revenge.
Unhinged.
He just wants to kill the people that he feels have slighted him. Like, it's that's why I say he's become a madman. Like, he's now he has the power. But I always felt before that he just, he was rejected by, maybe he probably feels rejected by his parents. He felt like his uncle was going to murder him. And then he picks up with this other guy named Snoke, who constantly puts him down and makes him feel like an idiot. And then he finds this other person, Rey, who he finally feels some kind of kinship with. And then, like, she rejects him too. Like, it's pretty pathetic. So, I mean, this guy just doesn't care. He just wants to lash out. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I always maintained that there was no way back for Kylo, that redemption was not in the cards for him. And then it seemed like for a bit in The Last Jedi that maybe that would happen. But I don't see a way back for this guy now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, like, I've been saying this for all the arcs we've been talking about, letting go of the past. Kylo's kind of like let go of his past in Snoke and is moving forward. Like, Luke has done the exact same thing. He's kind of, by the end of it all, he let go of everything and did what he had to do and move forward. And Rey as well, like him telling Rey who she was, that junker left by a bunch of drunks, like just for a bit of extra booze money. Like, she faced her stuff and moved forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's always the thing with bad guys, right? They can never seem to move on from something. That's perfect Darth Maul. The guy just can't learn, can't seem to get past all these old.
But he is letting go of something in this movie. Like, you see it, like the relationship between himself and Hux and Snoke. It's like an older brother, younger brother, sibling-ish relationship vying for the love of daddy. And they're both playing off that. And Snoke is playing both of them off that. So for him to kind of kill Snoke, like the way Snoke treats him in this, it's like, you see him, he almost wants to cry at a point in this movie. Like, Snoke's like, you're disgusting or whatever. I hate, like, you're stupid, this and that. And he's just berating him. And Kylo's just like, meh, I don't want to do this anymore. This game's not fun anymore. Like, he's looking for his out,
Well, Corey, for a guy who loves the Jedi so much, I think you're confused with what Kylo's actually doing. You see, Kylo's not letting go of the past. He's not. What he's doing is he's letting the past define him.
Yeah, he's talking a big game, right? He's saying, "Oh, you got to kill the past," and he's literally killing his past. He kills his dad. He's thinking about killing his mom. He wants his uncle dead. But
he just killed Snoke too.
Yeah, but he's defined by those murders. He's not letting go. Like, Luke let go. Luke.
Well, I disagree with you. I see him letting go in this, and by killing his master, he's been set himself free.
No, he becomes
let
a slave.
himself loose.
By killing his master,
he's unhinged now.
He becomes a slave to his actions. He becomes a slave to what he did, as opposed to actually letting go. There's a big difference there. I think it's more of a philosophical difference.
Well,
but like,
yeah, I get you there, but like, his motivations are for that reason, I would think. Like, but then, like, what you're saying,
but that's why he's tormented.
Sense.
That's why he's tormented. That's why he's a great villainous character, because he's making these decisions to try to let go, but in reality, what he's doing is he's killing the physical body of those people, but he's taking on their weight as his own chains, and he's making himself more of a villainous character as opposed to somebody who's actually letting go.
I see that more for the situation in the case with Han and killing his father that weighed down on him, but the one with Snoke, I see it more as like fuck this guy. Like, sorry, Kyle, but
time code.
Just the way that Snoke treated him again in this film and berated him, like you could see like how Kylo was like a whimpering puppy against him, and the way that Snoke plays Hux and Kylo against one another, like he saw through all that at one point. Like, I gotta kill this guy, and like take control of my own destiny and wherever it leads to, whatever. Like, but he is bad. Don't get me wrong. Like, he chose the wrong side, and again, I was very, very much so convinced that maybe not necessarily in this film, and it's still not too late again, but the fact that when they teamed up in this film, like Kyle said, like I was like, Kylo's back again. Like, I thought for sure that was it, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like what Carlos said in that Kylo's always talking about letting go of the past, and he's kill it if you have to, and he does just that, but it never gives him the closure that he's looking for.
Satisfaction, yeah.
It's not giving him that. It's these violent acts are not.
Snoke's different than killing your dad. Like, Snoke puts him at the top of the food chain right now.
Yeah, he finds himself there, but he's using the First Order for personal ends. Snoke was I don't know what Snoke was after. Was it galactic domination? Maybe. But Kylo's using it to snuff out the last vestiges of his personal past. Like, it's
that's true too. Like, that's going to be interesting moving forward. Where they're going to want to take this? Like, are they going to want to take this and like seizing and controlling planets, or is it like Kylo's, like you said, vested interests?
Yeah, I don't know. That's another conversation for another time. But we've barely spoken about Rey, and here we are, like 2.5 hours in. We've hardly spoken about Rey. I mean, she's the character of this trilogy, and we haven't spoken about her. I'm not making a very big leap here to say that I love this character. After TFA, I was never so invested in a character as I was with her. And
I can't say the same, but after this film, I'm sold with her performance. Not her performance, but her character in this film. The fact that she's grown a bit too, like she's, yeah, man. For me, there's no doubt about Rey. Like, I figured at some point she was going to flirt with the dark side in this, and I don't think she ever did. Like, I don't think she even came close. Like, she was talking to Snoke. That's not true. She's tempted by Kylo's offer.
No.
She hesitates.
Nah.
She does hesitate.
No, she doesn't.
Watch it again.
She's playing him because she wants to get that lightsaber back. She knows she's in a position of weakness. She handed off that lightsaber.
I do like to think that she at least considers it. It's not like
she said, like, right off the hop. She says, "No, don't do this, Ben."
It's not right off the hop, though.
It pretty much is. Like, there's no, like, to me, she didn't consider it for one hot minute, or even one hot second. Like, she's just like, yeah, nope, I need my saber back because this guy's still nuts. But about that scene, when they're kind of wrestling over the saber and it snaps in half. So here's a question. So the Skywalker saber is broken, snapped in half. And then when Kylo faces off against Luke has that saber. Why didn't Kylo, as obsessed with that saber as Kylo is, why didn't he put two and two together going, why do you have that saber? I just snapped it in half myself.
Because his hatred is blinding him.
I guess that's the only explanation. I mean, that's to me, that's the equivalent of
what's interesting is what's more interesting to me is that he's actually using that saber, not his green saber. Like, that's the saber Kylo knows. That's the saber that was last.
There's got to be something to that choice, and I think it is supposed to be an indicator to us that Kylo is so out to lunch. He's so consumed by his rage. that he can't see all these clues in front of him as to what's going on. Like Luke not leaving footprints.
Yeah, that was so good, eh? That's so subtle but perfect.
No footprints from Luke in the red dirt, in the salt. The saber that Kylo doesn't even recognize. That's hilarious to me. The fact that Luke doesn't try to block any of his blows, he just completely dodges them. So there's no... He can't figure it out. He's just... Carlos, I guess that's got to be the only reason. He's so consumed with his rage that he cannot see what's going on right in front of him.
And it's a tie-in.
But they do go they do go lightsaber to lightsaber.
No, and it's a beautiful tie-in to the question that James had after at the end of Rogue One, of why Vader didn't just go after the security disc, right, or the Death Star plans on the disc, because he was so involved with the bloodthirst of that battle and just mowing down the rebels that were in front of him. That's the darkness. You can't put the master plan ahead or
bloodlust
in front of an evil character, because their motivation isn't always the end justifies the means. They enjoy, like you said, the bloodlust. There's something about that fight, that rage that blinds them.
Yep.
That's
makes them feel powerful.
Exactly. That's why they can't win. That's why Darth Maul gets killed with 3 parries on Tatooine. I think they know what they're doing when the light usually beats the dark. It's because of that.
I'll be back in a sec, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, it's because of that. It's because of that. The blinding nature, that rage or jealousy or hate, it covers your eyes in the most crucial of moments.
Yep, I like that. I mean, so for Rey, I mean, this kid is barreling full on towards, I guess, Jedi knighthood. I mean, she kept the text. She smuggled the ship or the text onto the Falcon, which is a smuggler's ship, which I think is kind of ironic. They're not page turners like Yoda said, but is she going to study these over whatever time jump that we get from episodes 8 to 9, if there is one? Are these books her new masters? Is Luke going to help continue to train her from beyond? I don't know what to think of Rey and where she's going next, but I think for me it's safe to assume that this kid is going places.
I would think so. I put a lot of credence into the fact that there's a reason why that blue lightsaber was destroyed. It's because she needs to get her own crystal to become a Jedi Master. That's part of the trial of getting her crystal and building her own lightsaber. And she probably has the instruction manual with her on the Falcon. So, and I expect a double-bladed lightsaber for Rey.
Oh boy!
Now that she has to build her own, I think something that resembles her staff.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, it would be awesome. And but besides that, I don't know. What do I see? I don't see her opening a school or a Jedi Academy. I see her being a bit more involved with the business of the rebellion. That's where I see it. I see after probably a 4 or 5 year time jump. Especially considering that the movie takes place probably weeks after the previous episode, and the time span of the film is probably a 12-hour period. It's
very quick. I
think
a couple days pass on Act 2.
Oh no, on Act 2, but we don't know at what point she gets to Act 2 and the action starts with the evacuation of the base.
There's that. But during The Last Jedi itself, I think she spends at least a few days on Act 2.
Oh no, definitely. But
But
we
yeah,
don't
I mean,
know.
this is a. I mean,
Yeah.
from the beginning of this saga to where we are, it's a relatively short time.
Very short. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Rey character is just mesmerizing to me. I mean, she's going to be leaned on to fix a whole lot of problems and to reassert the Jedi in the galaxy at some point. I don't know how she does that. I don't know how she does it without a lightsaber. I mean, I guess she'll figure out how to put one together. I can't get that vision of a double-sided bladed stuff. Jeez, I'm losing it, Carlos. A double-bladed lightsaber.
Yeah.
I can't get that out of my head. That would be really cool. But I don't even know what to think of. I'm so curious to know. I think the biggest key is to know where episode 9 goes. Is it going to be... Are we going to follow on the heels of episode 8? Or are we just going to plow ahead several years down the line and see where everybody stands years from now?
Yeah, I think like the rebellion, obviously at this point, needs to go underground, like hiding. No, we have a voice in the New Republic or anything like that. Like they really need to go deep underground and rebuild the ranks. And there's going to be a lot of political jostling to try to get some systems to follow them. And I mean, I could be completely wrong. We could come back a month from now, and the saga would continue. But I really doubt it. I mean, they really have to go. There has to be something that springs up in the absence of the Resistance to actually squash the First Order. At this point, it's not there. So the only thing that makes sense to me is a time jump.
Yeah, you think they have to kind of regroup and rebuild themselves a little bit. That will be interesting to see. What I loved about Rey, I think, specifically in this, and I keep coming back to Rey, I feel like we haven't done her justice, but again, like the theme of hope in this is runs right through the movie. We see Poe as a very hopeful character. He's always thinking that, yes, there's a way, we can do this. Rose, I guess, also carries that torch, but Rey is not giving up on Luke, not giving up on the Jedi, not giving up on Ben. She just will not quit. And I wonder what changes between 8 and 9. But I can't wait to at least get some kind of synopsis about episode 9.
Oh, I know. It's going to be a long 2 years, Kyle. We're going to have a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about, but yeah, it's when you think about it, it's like, oh, we just got past 8 and I'm ready for 9. Like I want more of this story, and that's a credit also to Ryan Johnson. Just I think after Attack of the Clones, I was ready for a 3-year break. Like I didn't need to see episode 3. Because to me that was going to be the last one, so I was ready, to give it a bit of time before we got the final episode. Now we're back to that point where we're gonna get a final episode of this saga, and I want it right now. I'm dying for it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm dying to see The Last Jedi again.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I got to see this movie again. One last thing before we start to wrap things up. Like, imagine being Ryan Johnson and coming to the conclusion that you're gonna kill Luke Skywalker. And we'll talk about his death scene. I've got to at least touch on that. But you got to fight. You got to do it in a way that you don't want to be the guy. I mean, Walking Dead fans say if Daryl dies, we riot. I think Star Wars fans probably have the same thing going for Luke. Like, there was, I think, the meme out there saying, I swear to God, if I see Luke Skywalker die, whatever. Like, nobody wanted to see Luke die, but somebody's going to have to bear that responsibility to kill off the character. And I think the way he did it, and the way that the message was given to us, Rey talking with Leia saying, I felt Luke go. Like, he went peacefully with purpose, no pain. And so when that happened, when we see that beautiful scene with Luke staring out at the sun, and he's just on the rock, and then
twin sons.
He just disappears. It's like,
but twin sons, no, come on.
I think there was just one.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I thought when he goes off, there's twin sons. I thought that was like the most beautiful part of the movie. No.
Yeah, there were two.
Were there two?
Yeah, man. Like
yeah.
It was a touch back to Tatooine. Like that was the most like beautiful loophole tie-in that. Oh my god! Like when I saw it, I was like twin sons. I was like, he's dying. Like it took my heart away, man. When I saw it, I was like, oh my. And then that took a lot out of him. Poor Luke. I was like, wait a minute. Twin sons. Like, oh my god. Like Luke's gone. Like, I couldn't believe it, man. Total. That could be the spoiler moment too, you know?
Yeah, but again, it's like, from Rian Johnson's perspective, you're better off doing it that way.
You said it so often, though, Kyle. You can't kill Luke in this one. Come on.
Well, because, we didn't think of it going down this way. To think of it where somebody's going to drive a lightsaber through his chest or, decapitate him. That would have, I think, made a lot of fans angry. And I think the way they executed it here worked so well because he went and I was just like, that was really nice.
Yeah, I heard, I don't know if you caught this, Kyle, or Carlos. Actually, you were closer to me, Carlos. But when that scene came and he was up on that rock and just going to like lie down, I was like, oh, he needs a little rest. Oh my God, he doesn't. Oh my God. Like, I was on the edge of my seat, but the girl, I heard someone behind me full of weep. She's like, I was like, yes, this is the cinematic experience I wanted.
Yeah, no, it was no doubt a wonderful scene. I mean, Rian Johnson did a tremendous job, not just writing it that way, but executing it. It just worked so well. And
I can't believe you didn't notice the twin sons after 2 viewings, man. Like, doesn't that like really like blow your mind that much more?
I definitely want to see it again. But whether it's 1 or 2, I mean, it doesn't make a big difference to me. He's still staring out at the sunset. It's the way, it's sort of the way we meet him, and it's the way we see him go out. So but, I mean, the number of suns doesn't really mean a lot to me at that point.
Come on, it touches right back to the binary sunset, man. Like right back to where it all began. Like his looking out.
The number of suns really has no bearing for me. It's the tone set by the actual act of staring out at the sun.
Oh, I think it's just absolutely multiplied by the fact that there's 2 suns, and there's not. I think Acto is like there's 1 sun on Acto, so when you see 2, it's like
he's hallucinating.
Yeah, and that's just absolutely amazing.
All right, let's wrap this up here, guys. Some final thoughts. I completely love this movie. I left the theater, my first attempt, feeling challenged, but better about this movie than I did after both TFA and Rogue One. I think there's a density and a weight to this movie that far surpasses both. There's some weird personal touches that I don't love. Specifically that scene during Rey's training with those little plants shooting up from the ground. Like, that's a weird thing in Star Wars. I didn't like that.
Really, eh? That's kind of one of the things that I was on the fence about a bit, but I like the fact that they were explaining the Force in a grander scale.
Yeah, I wasn't terribly enthused with the way that kind of broke with the way Star Wars movies are filmed. Like
the life and the death, kind of, like with seeing the skeletons underground.
Yeah, that was sort of like almost documentary commercial style. I wasn't crazy about that. There's some things I missed out on. We missed a true lightsaber duel. I'm still waiting on a big epic full scale space battle. like you said, Corey, we didn't get any of that ancient lore that we were totally 100% convinced was coming and would serve as the backstory to Ryan's next trilogy. But I don't feel like we got shortchanged in any way. You know what I mean? Like, I still got a full Star Wars experience and then some. Like, this is one of the most gratifying movie experiences I can think of.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. Like, just the fact that our expectation levels were here, and he just took us there. And, like, again, it's like, last week I was, like, talking out of my ass, like, he could throw anything at us. I'm ready for this. And I was not ready for this. Like, when I left that theater again, I was just, like, a humble person, man. Like,
Carlos, any final thoughts?
Yeah, that second viewing for me solidified this this movie. I didn't like anything more. The things that bothered me didn't bother me more. I fell in love with Rey as a character, and I liked where Kylo went. I love the open-ended nature of, Episode 9 could be titled A New Hope. It could be, like, not resembling the movie, but just the fact that, that we're back. We were almost knocked out completely, but we're on one knee and we're getting back up. I love that. I love this movie. I'm I don't want to sound hyperbolic here, but I mean, this is probably my favorite Star Wars movie. And like, it's hard. I think it's going to change with time. I'm going to be seeing it at least 2 more times in the theater, hopefully. But I don't see it, not being in my top 3 ever. Like, unless the next one comes out and it's better than this. Maybe we'll see about that in 2 years. But for now, I love this. I love this this whole thing, and I love the way that everybody in the Commonwealth, be it on the Talk Star Wars VIP group or on the Tumbling Saber group, a lot of respectful dialogue and debate, and hats off to everybody.
yeah, keep it real, man. Keep it civil.
Yeah, it was really nice, and the fact that there were little to no spoilers at all. With some of the guys having watched the movie before us. I think all in all, what a great week, man. Like,
Yep.
I'm happy to be here.
It was a wonderful experience, top to bottom, and
so I want to put in some
better.
I want to put in a few qualms here. I told you the Poe and Hux thing at the beginning. It still worked for me. I'm not like getting down on it hard, but it was a little drawn out. The BB-8 machine gun was a little tough for me. Like, I would have got like maybe again like a handful of quarters, but like the amount of quarters he disposed, I was like, okay, is this ending anytime soon? The Holdo character, I really liked what they did, but they just could have written it a little more in the sense that, like, because by the end of this, I was like, man, what a like she's just served this purpose, and like it's really evident that kind of exposes it a little as a film. Kyle Beck harkened on this a bit. The lore, the ancient lore of Snoke. What does Snoke know that's bringing this whole thing together? And the ancient lore on Acto. Why go to the first Jedi temple to hide? And why is Luke saying, I'm in the hardest place to find in the galaxy? Like, why exactly is that if it's in the middle of the populated galaxy? Like, there's got to be something more to that, and I was hoping to learn a little more of that. But, and the Carrie Poppins, I guess, I'm kind of on the fence. I want her to survive. It's just, again, like you'd said, Kyle, the visual, the imagery behind that, there was something about it that made it a little weird. But the structure, theme, and story, he really tied it together, Rian Johnson. Like, everything, the the expectations, we've been pushed to the boundaries. And not only that, like, he really did make me love the characters so much more. Like, especially the new characters that we're trying to move forward with. Poe, Rey, and Finn in particular. Like, I love them so much more than I did in the TFA. Like, they were introduced there, and this story really pushed their characters forward. The main characters that we know and loved and grew up with took a bit of a backseat, but were written so well as well. And again, our expectations were just, I'm not going to say that for everyone, but it just didn't go the way we thought, like Kyle had said, and it was an amazing experience because of that.
Yeah, for me, it was the shake-up Star Wars needed. No doubt. All right. I think that kind of brings us to the end at long last. Holy smokes. And
what about favorite moments?
Yeah, we're going to have to... Dude, look at the clock.
Well, I think we kind of did that. We kind of did that throughout, like, during... while we were talking about certain, arcs and stuff, we kind of threw in our favorite moments. And
well, not enough love. Let's just pay a little love to this scene, because I don't remember this, but R2 showing Luke Leia hologram.
Yeah, the low blow. Wow, what a beautiful scene, though. Yep.
The wink to 3PO. God, the Yoda moment. Just Luke and Leia again, the kiss. I changed my hair. She wrote that scene, man. Or not wrote the scene, but helped write the dialogue to that scene.
Yeah, no, that's all great stuff. I mean, the movie's just loaded with great moments.
The Force
like that.
Cave. One last thing, I want to know if this is like a bit of a drunken reach, but last night, I was kind of just, I haven't stopped thinking about this film, and it's been hard to really sit down and try and, like, this whirlwind that's surrounding me that is the Last Jedi. I've been, like, to actually, like, sit down and try and concentrate and reel it all in. The Force, the dark side, the cave that sucks her in, right? She comes... And I've said this throughout the theme in this movie to me is the spark of the rebellion and the letting go of the past and moving forward, And that cave is very reminiscent to me of Empire in the sense that, Luke walks into the tree and sees himself in Vader because he brings what he brings with him. Whereas Rey, she's seeing this infinity mirror, but correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I only saw it once. But everything's coming back to front, to forward. You know what I mean? Like, it starts from the back, leads to the present, and goes forward. So it's again kind of metaphorically or symbolically showing that, the past doesn't necessarily dictate your future. Like, that's what she brought to her with the cave. Like, the cave, I was expecting some kind of crazy beast or some kind of Vader or Kylo Ren to kind of pop up, or her morph into something else, and things get crazy and dark and scary, but really it was what she brought with her, and that's what it told her. It's like the Force is this all-connected thing, dark, light, whatever it is, it's all transparent, really.
Cool. I saw that whole thing as all those different copies of Rey is her bringing her baggage of being stranded. Like, each Rey represented like one day of her strandedness.
That's cool.
My own personal take.
But again, it's back to front. So all those days leading up to this day and then moving forward, it's like letting go of the past.
Yeah, she does. Well, yeah, she does it in a much healthier way than Kylo deals with his past. Okay. There we go. I think this is probably just going to be like the first of a couple of shows that we have unpacking The Last Jedi. I know we need to get some of the other crews on, so we'll try and do that again later this week. But yeah, that's it for now. And I know we had the Powerful Friends send in a bunch of voice clips, but if all goes to plan, then there should be another podcast in your podcast feed right now, which is solely input from the Powerful Friends. So that is a really cool thing, and you should also be checking that out. And also this week, we've got our second annual Sithmas special. which is going to drop exclusively to the Powerful Friends, and this thing's going to be a blast. I hope you guys take the time to listen to this when it hits your
Yeah,
your
you got to,
Patreon
man.
feed.
Big things planned.
Oh, it's going to be fun. All right, well, Corey and Carlos, where can we find you guys on Twitter?
You can find me at Chop Rules with a Z.
Let's do this double time. You can find me at Chop Rules with a Z, or at the Habs Breakdown, or C Candido Music, I believe.
Yep.
Beautiful. And I'm at Tumbling Saber on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And come check us out. Come say hi and talk some Star Wars. And if you want more talk on The Last Jedi, well, what you need to do is go to Apple Podcasts and look up Star Wars Commonwealth. And like I like to say, I don't know many things in this world, but I do know that our friends at the Star Wars Commonwealth are going to just crush The Last Jedi coverage this week. And so you owe it to yourself as a Star Wars fan to go check out what they're up to, because they're no doubt going to blow your doors off.
And
so
before we close out here, Kyle, I just want to say also that the lead up to everything that has been The Last Jedi over the past couple of years, I love you guys. I had such a fun night on Thursday, and man, it's been special, man, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I wish I could have been there more, but as it was a great experience.
Ditto.
Yeah, so thanks to everybody who made that a great night, and thanks to all our friends out there, everybody who's listening, who makes every day on Twitter and through email and all that stuff, just passing these years between films with the speculation and theories. It's been an absolute blast. But that is all for today. This has been an ultra long, ultra rambly episode of the podcast, and I know you guys you're reeling as much as we are, and hopefully we're able to articulate some thoughts. But we'll be back to unpack a bit more later this week. So until then, have yourselves a good week. It's the last one before the holidays. So enjoy it, and we'll be back soon.
And don't forget to catch us on Patreon.
Self-redeeming qualities, have they hindered me? Hindering, was I blind to see that you needed me, all of me, well, you were there for me. I will be there too, watching, listening, every moment, wanting all of you. And I believe I can save you, just don't let me go. And I can see I'll be waiting, always waiting, just don't let me go. Just don't let me go. Time goes on and I'm questioning all the things I've seen, crazy things I've seen as I'm watching you. I'm watching you walking away from me. Were you watching me? Was it just